right, whenever you're ready.
Wait a minute, I gotta start
Oh,
this too.
hold on. You gotta wait for Zoom.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Okay, are we on? Yep. All right, we are gonna open the Monday, June 8th, 2020 Board of Selectmen meeting. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we don't have any public comments because we are not open to the public. Ed, can you read the warrants?
Approval warrant, payroll warrant, 20-49 in the amount of $165,896.38.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Unanimous?
Bill warrant 20-49 in the amount of $1,335,935.96. And the breakdown on that is town, $56,893.07. Water and sewer, $28,480.45. Payroll withholding, $32,167.10. Light bills, $105,385.99. Grants and revolving, $57,211.35. Pentucket assessment, $822,041.75. Debt payment, $756.25.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous?
Bill warrant 20-50, that breaks down to health insurance, $68,744.76. Debt payment, $185,954.60.
Second, just to note that the total sum was $254,699.36.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We have approved the minutes from April 27th, 2020.
I'll make a motion for approval, I reviewed them.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
We have the minutes from May 18th, 2020.
I'll make a motion for approval, I reviewed these.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
We have executive session minutes from May 18th, 2020.
Make a motion for approval, I reviewed these minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Appointments. Appointment of Jan Dempsey, 23 Uptack Road, Groveland, to fill a Board of Library Trustees vacancy effective June 8th, 2020. Appointment is made until the next annual election, May 3rd, 2021. At that time, there will be an election to fill the position for the remainder of the term.
I'll make a motion that we approve Jan Dempsey to the library trustees. She certainly well qualified for the position. She'll be an asset there.
Second it for discussion.
Motion and a second. Further discussion?
Just more of a kind of a common question. I'm assuming, looking at the materials we're giving, that the library trustees have already interviewed anybody that was interested in this?
So when a vacancy occurs for an elected term, it's a
Yeah.
joint appointment with the Board of Selectmen and the
I
Board of
see.
Library Trustees, where they couldn't come here in person. They did their portion first and voted her through.
Okay,
I don't believe they had anyone else interested, so they recommended her at their,
good.
for
Okay,
appointment by the board.
thank you. That's what I was assuming, that had already all happened, and
Yes.
we're just doing our second piece. That's fine.
Any further discussion?
No. She's well qualified and passionate for this position.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Thank you, Jan, for volunteering. Next up, we have COVID-19 discussion. Any concerns, policies, or protocols with regards to the coronavirus? Claire,
Hi, sorry I'm late.
that's all right. We got some other things to get through.
Just in time.
Do you have, are you all set? Do you need a minute?
No,
Sure, okay. Do you have any updates for us?
we do.
Okay.
So we've had a few more cases, so up to 32 cases. Once again, nothing really, really serious, nobody hospitalized, no deaths, so this is a good thing. However, I'm concerned that, because we've opened up some gates here to the public, that I don't want people to drop their guard,
Exactly.
okay? When you're in a group, wear a mask. Social distancing, wherever you are,
Mhm.
okay? You have to be careful, you really, really do. Spoke to a gentleman recently who was in contact with someone that had a positive test. And this person I was speaking with had no symptoms, absolutely none. So he went and had a test, and lo and behold, he was positive. So he's on quarantine for 2 weeks. And so, that's what happens sometimes, unfortunately.
Is that 3 more cases in the last week? Is that what the number was? Was it 29?
3, yeah.
29 last
29
week.
last week.
29, yeah.
Up 3.
And that's really the crux of this, right? Is that as the town and the state kind of eases some of the restrictions and hopes that people will do the right thing and be vigilant about their surroundings and who they're out with and what they're doing, these cases are gonna, I think, continue to rise, which is what we don't want, which is really the conundrum we're in as far as releasing some of these restrictions in town anyways, because we want to keep those numbers as low as possible.
Correct.
But I understand that people are going stir crazy being at home so much as well.
Well, they are. And, I guess all of us are to a point, but,
Claire, can you speak a little louder, that the speaker here is not picking you up as well?
Pull it closer.
No, it's this one, it's a hard time hearing.
oh, okay. Is this okay?
I don't know, if you continue, I'll let you know.
Oh, okay. I was actually going to mention the states that were opened completely without any restrictions down south, and their caseload went up. So that was Texas, Georgia, Florida, I think Mississippi.
Bama, Arkansas.
Mhm.
Right.
So most of those states, if not all of them, have seen a dramatic increase over,
It was significant.
Yeah.
Definitely.
and that's what this board and the town are trying to prevent,
Correct.
while also balancing the need of people to be able to go out and do a real life exercise or walking or playing or whatever they want to do. It's a real balancing act for us to keep the town safe from our perspective and what the state's telling us versus letting people go out and live a life, right?
Right.
What would you do? What do you suggest?
What do I suggest? Just doing the masks, social distancing, avoid big crowds,
So less than 10,
less than
which
10.
is the number that's been thrown around for quite some time, less than 10.
Correct.
Groups of less than 10.
10 or less.
10 or less.
Sorry, I interrupted. Anything else? you
No, that's okay.
Okay.
No, not
This is more of a
really.
discussion than a inquisition type thing.
Exactly.
Um, Anybody have any? Bill? Yeah?
Yeah, of the 3 new cases, are they 3 new households, or are they 3 cases within the existing households that we had already?
New households.
New households.
So we have a total of 6 houses on quarantine and a total of 9 cases still active.
Oh, wow.
9 cases.
We had one case crop up that was down in Bedford. Somehow, some way, the address was a Bedford address, that was given at the time of the testing, so the results went to Bedford Public Health,
Of course.
not here. So, I mean, the person was fine, still a little symptomatic, but, nothing severe.
So we've been lucky.
We have been.
So I want to get back to something you had mentioned earlier. You had a person test positive, come into contact with someone else. They went out and tested positive themselves and had no symptoms.
This was a work situation, okay? The person who got tested the other day was working with someone that tested positive. So the person I was talking to did not have any symptoms. And the reason why he was tested was because the employer said to him, hey, you gotta get tested because so-and-so's positive. Make sure you don't have the virus.
Right. So that person got tested
And he's positive.
and tested positive, and he's quarantining.
Right.
To this day, has that person shown any symptoms?
This just happened.
This just happened?
This just happened.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, so within the last
No,
day?
he's been totally asymptomatic, right along.
Hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see if anything crops up.
Yes. Very curious to see if that person exhibits any symptoms at all during the next 14 days, because that can tell us a lot. I could be infected. I could be one of those lucky ones that just a carrier and never show anything, right?
Right.
But
right.
unfortunately, all you people are the unlucky ones,
I was
because
just
I don't
gonna
know
say,
it.
lucky us.
Well, that's part of the problem we have with this. We're in such uncharted territory, right?
Correct.
None of us have ever been through this. You'd have to be really old and still with it to have lived through the 1918 pandemic, right? To give us some advice. So we're all learning as we go. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it.
Exactly. I know a person personally who tested positive, and he recovered. He thought he felt great. No symptoms, felt like $1,000,000. And then a couple of days after he told me that, I didn't hear from him, so I was like, what's going on? And so he ran a temp of 102. He's having trouble breathing. Went to the doctor, they did a chest x-ray, and they put him on antibiotics. So I don't know if it was a pneumonitis, the lining of the interior of the lungs, or they were just doing it, as a precautionary measure. But, and then, the temperature went down, and then it creeped back up again, so I mean, he's still not completely over this setback, but he's better.
I understand people will have ebbs and flows some people will have ebbs and flows during this. It's unfortunate.
That's it?
Yeah.
Ed, anything?
No.
Kathy?
Yes, actually, because we spoke about this right from the very beginning, that we'd have this period of time where we shut everything down. We took the safest possible measure for the town. And then we also spoke about the fact that we didn't want to just flip a switch and turn everything on at once, especially if we want to hear from you if something's happening because we've made a step. So there are some recommended steps in phase 2. I don't know if you've read through them at all to any degree.
I got through most of the Globe yesterday.
Yeah, it goes back and forth. It seems to suggest that, well, obviously, the outside dining, as long as, and I understand our health agent has already visited, I believe there's only one place in this town that has a setup for it.
Well, actually, Jeff and Maria's has
Oh,
tables.
that's true.
Okay, but they're just serving ice cream dishes right now.
Yep.
I don't think they're doing food.
But, I mean, if people stay, wouldn't that,
I thought that they, well,
I didn't think people were
I
staying
didn't
at,
think people were staying to consume
Correct.
the ice cream. I thought they were
Correct.
asked to leave the premise to do that, but
yeah.
Until
Again.
today.
Until
right.
today.
As of today, they
Correct.
can start dining outside.
So now they can sit at the table, so they'll
Mhm.
have to follow the same protocols. Okay.
Right.
So that seems to be,
Wasn't it, they said, like, they
No
could
more
have
than six
six
at
at
a
a
table.
table?
6 at a table,
Yep.
yep.
And they still have to be 6 feet apart, the tables
Correct.
have to be 6 feet apart.
Correct, and there's like a checklist that the employer signs
Right.
off on of all,
Mhm.
that their employees all understand
Right.
what they need to do to be safe as far as
Mhm.
masking and washing of hands and all that. So, in addition to that, they listed the, contact sports such as football, it's not football season anyway, but basketball, where you intentionally do knock into each other, as not allowed. But it sounded to me, I mean, and I'm not gonna say I'm an expert on this, because you go from one document to another one online. It keeps referring you to
Somebody
another
else.
document. But it sounded like if any of the sport leagues in town were interested in just like a skill and drill with a small group of 10 with no shared equipment, and everybody followed the protocols, which I mean includes cleansing before, I think, and cleansing after, that could happen. I'm trying to get it through my head. I don't even know if our sport leagues want to bother with this. But the other thing we restricted was the boat ramp, which I feel like that we should open up, because typically use of the boat ramp doesn't involve people knocking into each other. It's not a contact sport. You go down, and the group that's usually together with that boat, that's going to be on that boat, puts it in the water and goes. So as long as there's no gathering, would you be concerned, let me ask you, are there still picnic tables down there? It's been years since we have. So would we want to say no gathering at those picnic tables if the ramp was in use? Would that be something you would recommend? That they come down, park, put the boat in, go do their thing, come back, get the heck out of there?
Who's gonna monitor it, but, yes, I would definitely be comfortable doing it that way.
Well, no one's gonna be able to monitor it.
Right,
That's part of
yeah.
the problem, and no one
Right.
can enforce
No,
any
but-
monitoring anyway, so
Well-
that's the other problem.
We could post, I mean, there's always, you
You
can
could
always
post whatever you
tape
want.
put the tape on the tables or whatever, or flip them upside down if you want. Make it so they're not useful, but I just feel that if we don't start to take measured steps along this path, aren't we just going to wait till the end and then flip a light switch and say, okay, everyone go do everything? I mean,
Well, I think you're looking at it a couple different ways. That complex down at the Pines has a lot of different attributes to it,
correct,
right? So it's
Yes.
tough to open sections without opening other sections. And the other part of it is we had this discussion, you're relying on people to do the right thing and to take the right precautions. The illness is on them to do what's right and
okay.
protect themselves.
Well, let me just say for point of example, that Washington Park, there's been a sign that says park closed. The tape is all fallen down, but nobody's going there. People understand. So I think if we had the proper signage to say,
So
That-
I've driven by twice, and people have been on the playgrounds,
on the actual play equipment, because I haven't seen that.
on
And
the
I go,
actual play equipment.
I haven't seen that, and I go by there a few times a day, so I'm not sure when you said, because I have checked.
Yep.
But we could certainly tape it off again, I guess. I think the tape worked while it was working, while it was up. It's fallen down. And I just
What
say,
about the tape is-
you know, I'm just not a big fan of this Jersey barricade until everything can be used, because we're supposed to decide on some measured steps. And I don't see us taking any steps if we're just gonna leave up a barricade until the end of June, and then open everything up and say, okay, everyone go. I mean, if we opened up the boat ramp and found that we were having a trouble, right? That people were driving down there and disobeying the signs on the yellow tape, well, we could close it down again, I suppose, right? And say that it's not working, we have to wait till phase 4.5, or whatever that phase is when it doesn't matter anymore. But I feel that if we don't take measured steps, then how do you know?
So you wanna open the boat ramp,
The
but
boat,
not the dog park, or not the
no, the dog
playfield,
park
or-
should be
or
open,
the
it
dog
said,
park,
that
the
was
boat
listed.
ramps and everything but the playgrounds down there?
The playground is definitely off, basketball court,
I
because
have
they
a-
said that's contact sport.
Why is the playground off?
It's just listed as no, at least my
You
reading
can
of this.
open playgrounds now.
What's it?
You can open playgrounds as long as we have the ability to
Sanitize.
Oh, yeah, we
regularly.
can't, we don't have,
follow the sanitizing of the handlebars and,
we don't have that.
Swing sets and
Right, 'cause we-
slides.
We're never gonna have that, right?
Right,
I
so we
mean,
have to
so
wait
you
till the-
can't keep it closed forever, though.
But the new normal, I think, is when you don't,
Yeah, but that would be like that'd be phase 4, phase 4.
isn't it? Yeah, I think, well,
See, I would say let the playgrounds be open, only because they talk about UV light helping with, with killing the virus. So it's sunny out there, and then
That
people
was
can
one
bring
of
their
the
own
perceptions,
wipes.
Right, I heard that as well.
And
That was
people
one
can
of the
bring their own
perceptions.
wipes too.
but I thought, so there was language in there about the operator of the grounds. We're the operator.
Mhm.
So I think we incur certain responsibilities. Like people would assume, will they assume that like bathrooms needed to be cleaned once daily. I remember reading that and
Yep.
thinking,
Mhm.
weren't we already
Sufficient
doing
amount
that
of soap and
before?
everything has to be available in there.
We were cleaning the bathrooms once a day anyway. So,
And there should be
That-
soap in the bathrooms anyway.
There is.
right, so we got that covered. We got the bathrooms cleaned once a day anyway. We were doing that. So that could happen. So then therefore you have the ability to wash your hands. So we have a washing station. But we still don't have any way to clean the playground equipment that I'm aware of. We don't have a park grounds person.
Are we 100% sure on that UV?
I've just read things about it.
Well, I mean, I heard a bunch of things.
I don't know if anybody's 100% sure about anything
Well,
with this
that's
thing.
part of that's part of our dilemma, right? Is
Yep.
that's what we heard, and it makes sense, but is
I'd
that
have to-
truly the case?
I'd have to look and see if I can find any,
I mean, I don't know.
Thoughts on that?
I'm only going off of what I've read and what I've been told.
I know, but I heard high temperatures kill the virus too, but you look at Brazil, and I don't think it's cold in Brazil right now, and it's, right now,
Africa?
they're following,
Yeah.
the United States is the second biggest country, I mean, with
Yeah.
number
Number of cases.
So,
well, we'll see if anything happens with the recent events. If, I mean, because we've got warmer weather, but we've had more people gathering.
and you've had
see
protests in major metropolitan cities
what
throughout the
happens,
city.
if
I
it
mean,
increases now.
to your point,
That's the scary
Because
part.
people are wearing their masks.
Some are wearing them.
Oh, I see a lot with masks on.
I do, I mean, I was down at the protest today, I think every single person had a
Yep,
mask
I
on,
was
which
there.
was encouraging.
Yep.
But to your point, I don't know if we're ever gonna reach zero,
No.
cases, in a week. That's the goal. I think that the goal today should be making sure we don't get to the point where we go back to where we're overwhelming the medical system, the fire, the police, those kind of resources. We don't want to get to that exponential level, again, where we have hundreds of cases a week. I don't know if we're going to get to the case where we have 0 cases for a number of consecutive weeks for a while yet. I just don't know if that's realistic, given the current circumstances.
But you don't want to put fuel on the fire to have that explode if you can
Definitely,
mitigate that.
no, absolutely not.
Right.
I mean, that's what
So
the
that's the
governor is
balancing act
obviously
again,
trying to
right?
avoid,
Yep.
getting back to where we have to shut everything down like we did in March, ending up back at square one, because the number of cases exponentially spike and begin to overwhelm the resources we have available. Everyone wants to avoid that, and to your point, I know, it's been a tremendous balancing act for all of us here, between health and safety and recreational needs.
If I could, I guess, I was looking back through our minutes, probably because the ones we just approved maybe, but maybe I was looking further back. And I read when we were worrying about opening up the yard waste site that people from other towns would get in line and it would be overwhelming. But eventually we opened it and we monitored it for a couple weeks and we said, this is working. And as far as I know, I haven't gotten any messages that anything, long lines of people all over each other is happening. It seems to be working fairly well. So that would be my recommendation tonight, is to try to find some measured steps that we can, all of us agree on, that we're willing to take and say, okay, we're gonna take, say we're gonna open the boat ramp, we're gonna flip the picnic tables over, or just take them out of circulation. I don't know whether they're fixed to the ground or not, I don't recall, but no, no gathering there. I know no pickup games are allowed, right?
No organized games either.
No organized games, but you could, the
Practice.
sports, organizers
Drills or
of
whatever
youth
they call it.
sports could do like skills and drills if they wanted to.
Mhm.
And I think, I know there was one email we got about a softball league that was asking about that, I thought. I don't
Yeah.
think they were asking about games. So,
No, it was a softball field, and I
correct,
think it was about some kind of practice
correct.
for some kind of group.
In preparation of their league opening up,
Yeah.
which I assume it's a game.
Just came in. Well, there can't be games. I think that was, I read that in the,
Can't be
school.
games right now,
Correct,
and
right.
I guess the hope
what
is that
they
it
want,
could.
well, yeah, what they want is to
Yeah.
start practicing in preparation of those games
Okay,
down the road in phase 3 or 4.
correct.
Um,
So would we need, like, I know that, all the things they did, would we want each coach or whatever, or the league, or somebody who represents them to check off? Because there's no shared equipment. You have to wash your hands afterwards, I'm not sure about before, but at the end, they have to be washed. And I can't think of what the other, I think I'd have to look back, there's a lot of
There was
documentation.
a lot.
Right, so we could isolate those items. I'm not saying we may not know right now this moment, but do we want to try to isolate those items?
Well,
What do you
from
think?
my perspective, if we're gonna talk about opening things up at the Pines, it should be individual approval for individual spots.
Okay,
Boat ramp, fields, dog park, playground equipment, basketball.
okay,
That's my opinion. I don't know, yeah, Ed?
go ahead.
If you mirror it after West Newbury's, if you read the paperwork on that, it seems to make a lot of sense. Talking about opening up the athletic fields, the town residents, they're requesting small groups limited to members of the same household, no organized or pickup games allowed. Basketball courts in the playground areas will still be closed. It seems like they did quite a bit of work on it, and it seems to make a lot of sense.
I will just say this was last week before phase 2
Correct.
opened.
Yeah.
It's phase one they're in. They're still
So
a
it
step.
seems like you're talking about they're not opening up the basketball courts and the playground areas.
Yeah, so they did a phased approach, basically. Is They said certain things can open, but certain things are gonna remain closed for the safety of the public health,
That
right? That's
Yeah.
basically what it said?
Well,
was last week's.
it also went a step further. West Newbury town residents only.
Correct.
How do you police that?
Well, I don't know.
I just have a question on
Yeah.
that, though. It says here, residents can obtain a parking
Permit,
permit.
yeah.
I didn't know they needed a parking permit for their outdoor recreation areas. The opening of the Mill Pond and the Pipe Stave Hill parking lots.
That's maybe how they're policing it then, so they know who has
Well,
a
I
permit.
see a
and then my
permit.
only question there is, they have something we don't have. They have the, around their recreation area, they have the pond, Mill Pond, where, I don't know how they can restrict licensed fishermen from using the pond, but apparently they're only allowing West Newbury residents.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything?
No seeds, no gum, no spitting.
Well, I read it, again, and that was their last week's phase, so it's not, they're now gonna read what we're reading here.
Right.
So, I guess I'm suggesting that we decide, maybe we need to think about it, and we're meeting again Thursday, decide by Thursday, but I think we need to decide, which steps we're willing to take. I feel like
Well, I think,
the dog park and the boat ramp, to me, are kind of a no-brainer, because they don't involve much, and the only thing then have to be concerned about is, are you gonna tape off, the playground equipment? The basketball courts by the phase cannot be used, because that's a contact sport. That's what.
by the state regulated phase.
Correct. We can't be less
Less
restrict,
strict than the.
correct, right. We can be more restricted, but not less. So the basketball courts are not on the table.
Right.
But organized, if like whoever sent us the softball thing wanted to talk to us or say to us how they plan to run it, I think we need to have some kind of a process to know. I mean, I'm not sure how your permit, it's my first year on the board, how do you assign the fields to people? Who contacts Denise and how would she know? You'd have to have a group of 10 or less.
Well, typically, the scheduling of the fields, any fields, was done through Denise,
Okay,
initially.
Right.
Where that hasn't been the case the last couple of months, that's obviously not been on her plate to do. But, making sure that people meet those requirements of no more than 10 and no sharing of equipment and that kind of thing, that's gonna fall on individual coaches and, I guess, leagues, right? I mean, we can't police that.
well, we need to make sure they had something, a checklist or something. And I guess I didn't see the checklist in the materials I looked through. I just saw it kind of woven in as you go through the paragraphs. You can see, the no shared equipment, so they don't want kids passing mitts or,
So, on that point,
yeah.
like a baseball, shared equipment, right, or whatever it is, or
I
a
think
glove or a bat.
the
something.
shared, they mean, is what they have, like, what they have on them, for the
But,
most part.
so if they have catcher's equipment on,
Yeah,
and they're outside in the sunlight,
Correct.
theoretically, that should be killed by UV lighting, right?
Theoretically. Well,
in phase 2, they don't want that
yeah,
equipment
I
to
know,
go
it's hard to,
right.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, if that same equipment is outside in the UV lighting along with that's not allowed, but that's
It's
still.
not allowed right now.
That's still out in the UV lighting, that would still hold for the playground equipment.
Correct, but I mean, again, the restrictions that are in phase 2 are not set by us, they're set by the governor.
Hmm.
And they're saying we have to clean that playground equipment. Right?
Did you find anything else on that?
I thought
well, I
that they
found
said we had to clean
something,
it.
but it's already from a month ago.
Oh, yeah.
But it does say that, it appears to dies quickly in direct sunlight, both in the air and on surfaces, but not necessarily on the skin. And it was by a, US government scientist.
Did they
Paul
define quickly?
Dapis. Pardon?
Did they define what quickly means?
Wait,
I'm
what?
just- Did they define what quickly means? An hour, 5 minutes, 2 days, what, no?
Let's see, so this,
Because initially the concern was it lasts for days, right,
Yeah.
on
They've
surfaces.
backed off on that a
Right.
little bit.
Because they learned that that's not the case, but what does quickly define?
well, I don't know, just, this guy, this Dr. Paul Dapis, senior research scientist at Department of Homeland Security's Biodefense Research Lab, said initial lab tests showed sunlight, higher temperatures, and humidity are hurdles for the survival of the coronavirus. They found that the sunlight seems to be very detrimental to the virus, and so within minutes, the majority of the virus is inactivated on surfaces and in the air in direct sunlight.
Minutes. And we don't know that that's been challenged in the last month or so as something else, right?
But even if it's not, right now, phase 2, I believe we are still, if we are the operator, we are responsible for that playground equipment to be,
Mhm.
I thought, cleaned daily.
I thought it was clean daily too.
Yes.
Denise, was it cleaned, what was
Daily.
regularly defined as? Because that was another
Doesn't
thing.
define it.
Oh, it doesn't?
So regularly could be daily and hourly, weekly.
I don't know if it was regularly or frequently.
The bathrooms were once daily, I
Once
remember
daily, yeah, that was
Yes.
defined.
I know, I was
That
trying to
was-
find that in that too.
Did you see,
Wasn't.
you saw the
The
bathrooms, right?
playgrounds.
Bathrooms, definitely, yeah.
Once daily, I saw that, okay. Check. It's so many
But there are
documents.
checklists for a lot of the, like for restaurants and for the
Well, we have one
salons.
tonight with us, that would be helpful if they'd given us a checklist for the things that the town operates, but unfortunately, it feels to me like you go to one document, and then you get through about 2 pages, and then it leads you to another.
Yeah, so this says, in accordance with CDC guidance, outdoor areas like playgrounds and outdoor fitness areas require normal routine cleaning, but do not require disinfection. High-touch surfaces made of plastic or metal, including grab bars, railings, tables, and benches, should be frequently cleaned.
So we define what frequency means?
That's what it
Frequently.
says in
Last
the
time I checked, I
guidelines.
didn't have MD at the end of my name, so.
Frequently sounds like more often than once a day, I would assume.
frequently sounds like something that we cannot meet. but-
Correct.
If it's really hot out, people aren't gonna put their kids on the playground anyway, because those equipment
Surfaces are
gets really
hot.
hot and it burns their skin, so.
It's another issue.
I mean, they talk about still, even using the playground, people are supposed to maintain a 6-foot distance from other
Correct.
people.
Right, correct.
I don't meant, so, we'd have to just post, we'll have to find someone to make signs for us that talks about
These rules.
But rules,
We would
6-foot
need-
rules
right.
and
what about,
face covering, they require signage for face coverings.
Correct.
I mean, if we're gonna put a sign out that says 6 feet apart, use face coverings, can we add use at your own risk?
We can add whatever we want, I guess.
Okay,
Right?
right,
I mean,
right,
bottom line is, this board makes decisions based for the town, and not one person, not one group, not one family, not one anything. It's based on the health and the welfare of the town. And I've seen a lot of complaining online and from emails and from calls about, you know, the playground should be open, playing apparently bad, seems logical they should be able to use these playgrounds unhindered. It's not your decision. Our decision is based on the town and not your use case or your kid's use case, right? It's based on
Correct.
the overall health and the wellness of the town itself. That is our job, followed by state guidance, which comes at us regularly, hourly, daily, weekly, sometimes changes on us, right? And we're supposed to keep up, right? So we're reactive to what's being told that we're supposed to follow and then present to the town. So, you know, the complaining and the arguing, it all has to stop because the town is doing the best that we can, right? I have not been through a pandemic before. I may look old, but I'm not 122 or whatever the average age is.
are you making fun of me again?
No, but I'm just saying that I read a lot of emails from people or comments on the cry or the truth, whatever they're complaining about.
Right,
This is something that we're reacting to, you know, and this is something we volunteered to do, to make decisions based for the town and the welfare of the town, not one group or one child needs to play, right? This is the welfare of the town. So
right.
if somebody wants to take my seat and make the decision for the people, I'll gladly give it up. Or go get elected and make the decision for your town based on your knowledge and experience. Kathy, anything else you want to add to this?
Well, you said a lot. I
Yep.
guess what I'm wondering is within, you know, the four of us here tonight, we don't really have a checklist. I think we've kind of established we would need some signage,
Hmm.
right?
Exactly.
So we need time to get signage done.
How long does that usually take in a typical time frame to get signs?
We don't order signs, I have no idea.
In
The
these
highway
days,
department order 'em?
it's,
Well, they order, yeah, I mean, they order highway-specific signs. I suppose we can just have regular signs made. I don't really know. I can't tell you how
So
long
I think
it'll
what we
take.
should do,
it's gonna take, I'll be honest with you, we ordered a couple of signs just recently for my kindergarten graduate grandson and my 8th grade graduate youngest. It took over 10 days.
Well, we need like the metal signs.
right,
Yeah, these
To
are
be
just,
posted down there. I honestly don't know. I know there's a gentleman that reached out to me when this all started, if we needed anything, to reach out to him. I
Oh.
can contact him tomorrow. I don't know what the turnaround time is. I honestly don't.
so I think regarding at least the Pines, well, you know,
Yeah.
Washington Park is a whole nother can of
Oh,
worms. But
yeah.
at least the Pines, I think we should take individual aspects of the Pines and vote to have them open or not open.
Okay.
That's my opinion. Anybody else have an opinion on that, Ed? Do you agree with that? or do you
No,
want
I
something else?
agree. I don't see any reason why you can't open up the boat ramp. I don't see, any reason why you can't open up the dog park.
Right.
Okay.
And, you know, you got some, picnic tables down there. I don't see any reason why people, if they're out there boating, can't be using the picnic tables. People are smart enough, they know that, if they're gonna use it to disinfect it, wash it down beforehand. That doesn't seem to be a problem. People are pretty knowledgeable. They know what's going on. Those two aspects. The other part of the fields, sure, if you follow the guidelines that, small groups, no organized, sports, I still don't see why you couldn't have a family of, you know, father and a couple of, sons or daughters go down there and play softball, baseball. It's a family affair, as long as it's, not organized.
But it's no pickup games.
Well, and I would say on that, we would have to clarify, because our fields are by use of permit only. So are we issuing permits for families to use the parks, or are we getting rid of the permit process for the time being with fields. You'd have to decide that if you want to open the fields for
That's a good question,
non-permitted
too. So in
activities.
general, you agree with voting on individual aspects of
Sure.
each? Okay.
Sure.
Bill?
Yeah, I'd like to see as much of the park open as possible. The permitting thing is a sticky situation. To Ed's point, I want to take my boy down Tuesday at 3 o'clock. Do I need a permit to do that?
Technically, the parks all say by permitted use only. All the fields say that.
They do.
Legally, someone cannot just go and start using the fields without coming to us and getting a permit,
Part of that is
And
because of
having-
scheduling.
scheduling an insurance liability.
Right.
So that's what we require. I mean, all of them, Shanahan, they all say posted for permit use only.
So, let me get this straight. I just want to understand, because it's clearly not clear in my mind.
I think you're talking about two different things. I think you're talking about
Yeah.
organized sports and you and your son playing catch. I think,
No, I'm not at all. I don't think there's a distinction here. So, part of my tax dollars go to the upkeep and maintenance of that ball field. The park is wide open on a Tuesday at 2 o'clock. Any resident, any taxpayer needs to have a permit to go use a facility that their tax dollars go to maintain?
I'm just telling you what the Board of Selectmen's policy is on all the fields in town. They are by permitted use only. The Boy Scouts want to do their rocket launch in the spring, they have to call me and get a permit to use the Pines for the boat, their rocket launch.
And if it's organized, I completely understand that. But this is not organized. This is, I want to use a part of the facilities that my tax dollars go to maintain.
Well, technically, they don't, because the Pines is maintained by a freestanding account.
Well,
Your
point-
tax money is not paying the
point of
Pines. We
order.
pay that
Freestanding-
from the Pines
It's on
maintenance
the-
account.
Where's the freestanding account money come
The
from?
Pines maintenance
Well,
account from the
different
selling of the sand to
Then what
build the
would you-
Pines pays for that facility in its entirety right now.
The selling of the sand.
Mm-hmm.
And who did the sand belong to? The town?
Yes.
And who does the town belong to? The taxpayers or these four people here? I'm just trying to get a clarification. I'm not trying to start a fight.
No,
Or-
it's
or
not
make
my policy.
confrontation.
It's the town of Groveland's policy that field use is by permit only. It's posted on every single field we own.
It's
If you
been-
don't wanna, I don't think it's ever been enforced that someone's been kicked off a field because the father
Correct.
and son are playing ball. But the requirement is legally posted on every single field by permitted use only.
Correct.
It's just, I would assume it's, if someone's down there at 2 o'clock and there's a whole game coming at 2:15, I don't
They-
know,
They have to
for
leave.
scheduling purposes and liability. But the requirement of the town of Groveland is every single park is by permit use only. Not my rule, that's been in effect long before I got here.
Correct.
I'm
Okay.
just telling you what the requirements of each field are.
I hear you, and I just want to say publicly, I think that's completely fakakta. I mean, I can understand that for organized groups, because you'll have people coming in from other towns that don't really have any skin in the game. But I think it's an overreach and a huge burden on anybody to have to take out a permit to go down and play catch on any given day when there's nothing else going on. I think that's just an extraordinary requirement of anyone. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, maybe
But I
people
don't
don't
think we're
get
on
my
the
way. I
COVID
just,
topic any longer.
kind of a big overreach.
Chairman.
so, do you want to vote independently on each aspect of the fields and the,
Yeah, that's fine.
okay?
Good.
On the permitting thing, if we wanted to, we could ease those permits for the duration until we get to phase 4, when actually things are supposed to open up and scheduled games should take place.
You can do whatever you want.
Well, contrary to that, there's been times that I can't.
Well, as a board, if a majority of you wants to vote to waive the permitting requirements, but then you're gonna have an issue, if you waive permitting requirements, you're gonna have an issue with multiple groups wanting to use the fields as soon as we open them.
Well, that's
So
why I
you
said
need to-
limited.
Yep, you
Okay.
can vote whatever you want.
Kathy, on the independence of opening pieces of the pine.
Yes, let's do this.
All right, so let's start with voting on the boat ramp. The Board of Health seems to think that that's a logical step,
Can I
right?
ask before you start voting?
Yep.
So how are you gonna handle enforcement of the areas you don't open, before you start picking
Yeah.
pieces?
Well, you can't.
Okay, I just wanna make it clear, so if people
Yeah.
start using the basketball court, when that's not an open facility,
Well, I'm
we're
gonna
just gonna let
say
them use the
that
basketball court.
if that's not voted to be open, that we wrap it in that tape again.
Yeah, a lot of tape.
If I can, I'll volunteer to do it myself, but
No, it's still
apparently
wrapped, I mean, everything's still
I
officially
can't
closed,
volunteer to
but,
do anything else.
okay.
I'm sarcastic today, I'm sorry. But the Board of Health, with the boat ramp, you agree that that has a limited effect or a limited risk to opening that?
Yes.
Okay, so let's vote on the boat ramp. Ed,
I'll make a motion, we support opening of the boat ramp.
Second.
all right, so we have a motion and a second.
Can I ask, is this effective tomorrow?
Effective immediately.
I won't be able to notify voters immediately, and we don't have the crew to take the barricades down, so can we make it effective tomorrow?
Sure. Well, they can go around the boat ramp, they can go around the barricade.
No, with a
Will they
big
fit? I don't
boat.
think
With
they'll
their
fit.
boat, then they're gonna damage our
So there's a will,
recreational
there's a
area.
way.
Push it off the bridge. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any
Yes.
further discussion on the boat ramp? All those in favor? Boat ramp open, good. All right, so now let's move on to, I
Dog
guess
park?
it's the fields themselves, can we?
Dog park.
Dog park. Moving on to the dog park.
I'll make a motion, we open the dog park, and that could be forthwith, because certainly they don't have a big boat behind them that they can't get around the barricades.
I haven't
Second.
been down there, can you get around the barricade?
Yes,
Some people were.
yes.
Second. They
Or
should.
you have a motion and a second, I didn't hear you, Denise, can,
I mean, you can.
I do think it's locked though right now. Someone said there's a padlock on it.
right. I don't know who has the key to that.
I don't know.
The dogs.
No, it's the highway department,
just-
so until the
just
highway
kidding.
department is in, we
Yeah,
can't be
so
opening things
Can
tonight.
we change that to tomorrow?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, all these should be tomorrow.
So I got a hacksaw if anybody wants to use it.
No, I got both
Take
cutters.
You need a
that off
forklift.
and Nothing flat.
All right, so,
And we have cameras down there, and we'll prosecute for people damaging our property.
We'll find Mike and.
not
Select
endorsed by
Board.
Mr. Watson. Can you can you,
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we open the dog park effective tomorrow.
Second.
any further discussion on the dog park? Bill?
What will we share with the dog owners as far as guidance and what they have to follow? And how do we disseminate that information to those folks? And most of which, let's face it, probably do not live in Groveland.
Is it possible to, I'm sure it is, put that link of the guidelines of what phase two guidance means as far as what people should be doing on the website?
I can, but I didn't see anything specific to dog parks in the
No,
field.
but it
There
should
is-
be,
Right.
There
Well,
is something.
if
Yeah,
you're
there
not.
was.
Parks, I did
Right.
read it.
Specific for
Yeah.
dog
Yeah.
parks?
but did it have
Yeah.
information about masks and social
Right,
distancing?
I think
yes.
everything
Yeah, it was
has
still-
Yeah.
it's still the
That's what I
same,
mean,
it's still the
that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
So whenever you're
And
not.
I assume it's still 10 people or less.
Yes.
Correct.
I think so, yeah. Yep.
Absolutely.
So as far as the Board of Health, opening the dog park, there's no increased risk with that, from your point of view?
No, I would suggest the owners wearing masks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
because
Social distance,
That's
mask,
gonna be
wash
a
your
good
And
hands.
the
size
dogs still
group.
have to be, need to keep their animals, 6 feet apart.
Correct.
Don't let them be at each other.
No play together.
So the animals need to stay apart as well?
Yeah, they do.
Well-
I think
Yes,
that
they
was part
do.
of what I read as far as dog park opening,
Yeah.
that-
Mhm.
No play dates.
and no
What a
fraternizing.
dog park is?
Okay, yeah, that's,
Well, yes and no.
Dogs
It's a
that get
place,
along, yeah.
we have a leash law, so it's the one place if you're working to train your dog, you could take him down to the dog park by yourself and take the leash off and,
Except for right now, I believe, I think it says that they still
Oh,
have to be
leash
on a
is
leash.
still
There was
on?
something written, I
kinda
know.
defeats it. Okay,
I
well,
read about it.
I might be corrected. There was a lot of things in those,
I did see something about the dog park, but I couldn't tell you exactly what
I know.
no.
it was like 82 pages of stuff. But I read that in my spare time.
It was in the 18-page document that she sent the link to.
Then it's, I have it here somewhere. Oh, yeah, here it is,
Got
okay.
it?
Okay,
Okay.
So, human users should practice social distancing of 6 feet or more. Dog park amenities, including shared water dishes, toys, and other materials should not be used.
okay.
Visitors of dog parks should supply their own bags associated with dog waste and take dog waste with
With
them.
them, yes.
Property managers, where feasible, should provide no-touch lidless trash cans. You know, that's all it says,
Right.
the dog park guidelines.
But nothing about the dogs keeping themselves. I
Nope.
didn't think that's almost
Not under
impossible.
here.
I thought with the opening of any outside space that, because we don't have those no-touch, lidless, whatever, garbage, it's basically a carry in, carry out. If you bring
Yeah.
trash down there, take it, or bring food down there, take your trash with you. Don't throw it in anything or leave it behind.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the dog park item? Board of Health is on board. All those in favor? Dog park's open.
Okay.
All right, moving on to the fields. What do we want to do with the fields?
Open them up.
Okay, a little bit more than that?
I don't have any more than that.
Well,
I mean, open them up, based on the guidelines we have and,
All right, so
for athletic use.
but that goes back to Denise's comment.
it's by
on the
permit only, you know.
Look, just as a suggestion, and I agree with Bill about the permit, maybe you could do, permitting use has precedence. You open it up, but if there's a permitted use, then they have precedent over a father and son going down there and playing ball. Other than that, the same thing in the afternoon. There's very seldom in the afternoon at any of these fields that there's organized permitted use, and it just, the permit's just preventing somebody, father and son and neighbors going around there and throwing the ball around. So if there's a permit issued, then they should have precedent. Other than that, they open it up to everybody.
Except following the guidelines of phase 2, groups of below 10,
You want to make a motion? to
and
that
social
effect?
distancing, and masks
We had a
when you
motion,
can.
I just,
Yep.
Oh, you added on to his, okay.
I was just asking that,
Yeah.
on the permitting, that if the person has a permit, then they have precedent over the use by anybody else.
And I'll be honest with you, I've been living here and coaching for 20 years. If I'm at that field and I'm using it and an organized team comes and they have a game or a scheduled practice, I have never not yielded the
Of
field
course.
to that organization.
Illogical.
Because when I go down there with my team with a permit and an organized time, I want those folks to yield that field to me too.
Okay.
So I try to make sure that I return the favor and be considerate of everyone that has to use just one field.
So we have a bit of a motion. I don't know, Denise, did you get all that?
No.
That's why I asked.
Well,
All right, so my motion would be to open up the softball and baseball field to athletic activities
at the
of
pond.
10 or less at the Pines for, how did they, well, no, they
Well, why don't
really
you just
say it.
reference the guidelines?
Just say it.
Provided
Yeah.
everyone, so I got an email from girls softball who says they've reviewed the guidelines released on 6/3 and plan to follow them. They have close to 40 girls signed up for summer softball. And GBL is in your packet, so when we talk about Washington Field, Washington Park, they have their guidelines that follow the governor's guidelines,
Okay.
so.
Good.
I would just maybe make the motion to open the softball and baseball fields at the Pines, following the governor's.
Based on the governor's latest Phase 2 reopening guidelines. How does that sound?
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Well, did you want to add,
Who seconded?
I'm sorry,
Second,
second, did you want, this is more difficult than it should be. Did you want to add Ed's point that permitted use, it takes precedence over recreational use?
Absolutely. I
That
mean,
makes sense.
I don't think, listen, I've got a name for people that don't yield the field to, but I won't use it here. But
Okay.
yeah, I
take
agree
a
with
point
that.
of order. We already have the term, the fields are all posted for permitted use, so it already supersedes anybody else on the field.
It should.
So we don't need to include it in a motion. The
Well, we
only-
know we're relying on people to be logical, but,
Right.
Well,
so we don't need to.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a motion. Kathy, you seconded.
yes, I did.
All right, any further discussion? Board of Health on board? Want to make sure we're all in the same pot together. You're with us, all right.
Or the ship goes down
Yeah,
together.
all in favor? All right. Fields are open. Now, we can't do anything with basketball, correct? Because that is not part of
No.
Phase 2.
No basketball.
Right.
Well-
So,
It is like that.
Nope. It's contact sport.
let's discuss
You need to
basketball.
discuss the bathrooms, the
Bathrooms.
playgrounds, and the
Yeah,
basketball.
move on to that.
Basketball, I don't
I'm
think is
getting there.
allowed.
Just
I got-
letting you
I
know
got my
those are
list
the
up here.
things
I
that-
got it.
Basketball's a no-no. Basketball, lacrosse,
Basketball, I thought was the
football,
Board of Health. Basketball.
no, it's not allowed.
But it also lists, it also talks about baseball
Right.
Contact sports are basketball, football, baseball, soccer, field hockey, lacrosse, hockey, and other sports where ordinary play puts players in direct contact or close proximity.
Right.
Those must limit activities exclusively to no-contact drills and practices.
Correct. So we don't have a basketball league here, so we don't have the ability to have no contact drills in basketball, is my understanding, so we wait.
Entirely?
Can
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else you wanna
question
do.
that, can you,
Right.
can you restate that? There are no,
We
there are-
don't, do we have an outdoor basketball league that would be able to run no contact drills? Because otherwise then we're dumping this onto our police department to go down there anytime there's a group of people knocking into each other playing basketball. If they're not just standing there doing no contact drills in basketball, it can be no contact. So you can't really play a one-on-one, right? Am I right on this? Or am I getting this wrong? Because I read it a
You
few
cannot have
times.
one-on-one.
You can't have contact, it has to be a no-contact drill. So you have to have like one guy shoot a ball at the guy, shoot a basket, shoot a ball. I've never seen them do that at the River Pines.
well, luckily for me, I've got a basketball Jones in my house, and there's
Correct, right,
about
I mean,
1,000 different drills you can run without contact.
I know that, I understand that, I'm just wondering how, like with the baseball fields, we have a baseball league that can take responsibility to run skills and drills.
I
And
think
not
Bruce is
do a
saying there's no
contact game.
oversight.
No,
Who
you
is,
do have some of basketball camps.
Do you?
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't have them here.
We don't have them here, but they
Correct.
are,
well, that's what I'm saying,
there
for
is a
phase
regional
two.
summer basketball camps, both for boys and girls.
Right, but we don't authorize anything in
Right.
Groveland for basketball
I was
camps.
just trying to
So
simplify
we,
this.
doesn't matter, the basketball doesn't matter then, because we don't have any leagues that are permitted to use that.
Correct.
That's what we're talking about, okay, so,
There are no leagues that use our basketball courts.
Ed, anything on basketball?
No.
All right, so someone wanna make a motion that we do not open the basketball, or whatever they wanna do?
Well, we have it closed now, right, so we don't have to do anything.
Unless you want to pick a day to open them.
I'm up for suggestions,
The
going
next-
once,
The next phase, wait another week or so.
going twice? All right, moving on.
Okay.
Bathrooms. What are we gonna do with the bathrooms?
I have a concern with the bathrooms, and, you know, what happens during the day, Denise, if something needs to be cleaned down there?
If, normally someone will call the police station and they'll get in touch with our custodian.
Okay.
But, last summer, he would, open them in the morning and then go in the afternoon and clean them. So this says it requires a cleaning every day and a, full or thorough cleaning weekly. I don't think he was doing that on a weekly basis, but I'll talk to him.
Any other concerns with the bathrooms?
Well, Saturday and Sunday, we can't clean, right? So we won't have them open on the weekend,
So Monday through Friday?
right?
All right, so someone
During
needs to
phase
make a
two.
motion regarding the bathrooms, and then we can discuss the
Okay,
criteria.
so I make a motion, we open the bathrooms in alignment with the restriction of phase two, which is still you have to wear a face mask when you enter them, because you're in a public place. And, they will be cleaned daily and thoroughly cleaned weekly, and not open on the weekend.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, so we have a second, any further discussion? Bill?
The weekends, I'm thinking, are gonna be the busiest, and that's when the kids are gonna require the most soap and water, and then we've shut off that access. That's my only concern. I just see that place being busier Saturday and Sunday than it is Monday through Friday.
We don't have anybody to
Playground's
clean
not
it.
open yet, though.
Hmm?
Playground's not open yet.
Well,
It's just the,
technically, it is not. But I just worry when everything else opens up, little kids are little kids. You know, they're
Well-
drawn to that like a moth to a flame, right?
true.
But I guess I'm echoing Selectman Wood's comments at the very beginning that, we're doing the best we can in this phase. The bathroom needs to be cleaned daily. We don't have staff here on the weekend to clean it daily. So I don't see that we can offer the facilities during the busy weekend period at this time. So if that's what a league requires, then they probably won't do their practice on that until we get to what, phase 3 or 4? I mean, we're doing what we're capable of doing with the staff we have at this juncture. I mean, that's all we can offer. We can't do more.
Right, and I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
Okay,
I'm just
okay,
stating
Yeah,
the facts that it's more likely heavily used during the Saturday and Sunday period than it is through
I know.
Monday, Friday. You know, I just don't know how to manage that, that's all.
We don't have the resources to
We
manage
don't.
it, that's what it comes down to.
I
yeah.
So,
understand that.
all right, so we have a motion, and do we get a second?
Yep, Ed seconded.
All right. All those in favor? Moving on. Now to the big one, the playground. Board of Health. Let's start with the Board of Health. What are your concerns with the playground? Because I know you gotta have some.
I don't think it's a good idea to open it up right now.
I don't agree with her, but it's,
I love
Split vote,
it.
that's why we needed a third one.
Yeah.
I know, he's not here.
Dissension in the troops.
Well, I mean, everybody has an opinion, right? I mean, it's,
Yeah.
you're basing it on what you know, you're basing it on what you know, I'm basing it on what I think I know.
Because if I were a parent, I'd be bringing my own cleaning wipes, and I'd be wiping the equipment before I let my child go on it, you know,
Okay,
and,
but you're a nurse, so you know to do that, right? Is everybody gonna do that? I doubt it. That's the concern that I have, is
Yeah.
that people aren't gonna take those precautions. You would, because you understand it, and you're a nurse, and you would take the precautions to do what you need
well, I
to do.
think even if I wasn't a nurse, being a parent and knowing this is all going on, I think I would still do it.
Mhm.
Because it's been out there so long, what I'm telling you to do, you know, use your hand sanitizer, wash your hand, you know, everything.
But I would think the children that arrive maybe on their own accord, which we have in this town, are not gonna be packing the wipes. They do tend to bring a mask with
See,
them.
I was thinking more of the younger parents
I
coming with their
know.
younger kids.
Right, but I'm thinking we
Yeah.
have, that's the problem, I think in phase 2, I just don't think we have the setup to maintain playground equipment.
I know we don't have to set up.
Okay, so then I would say this stays not open, my opinion, at this point, unfortunately.
Ed, what do you think?
Well, I agree. I think the parents are responsible, especially with the younger children that'll be using the playground, that they would know enough to use the sanitizer, wipe down their hands after use. I think they'll do it. They're responsible.
But to Kathy's point, which I hadn't thought about, was the older kids.
Yeah,
I don't know that we get many older kids that come to the Pines and use the playground.
okay, but, well, do we need to make it known that we're not cleaning this equipment? I mean, that's
Well, I
my,
think there's a lot that needs to be known before. we
well,
do that.
that's my concern, like, we're cleaning the bathrooms, so they can count on these bathrooms being cleaned daily.
Right.
But we're now kind of putting out there, and I don't know if this is in the phase 2 language, that if you're gonna use a playground equipment, bring your own wipes. That's not in that language that
No,
I heard.
Denise,
I'm
do you know,
not sure.
what does it say about the playground equipment
Yeah,
in there?
what does it, that would be helpful, maybe.
So in accordance with CDC guidance, outdoor areas like playgrounds generally require normal routine cleaning, but do not require disinfection. High-touch surfaces made of plastic or metal, including grab bars and railings, tables and benches, should be frequently cleaned.
Right.
And it does say that we should be,
Clear as mud.
like removing the swings, because we can't keep them 6 feet apart. I mean, there are things that we still need to do with the structure itself.
So we'd have to remove equipment too.
Like, the swings was definitely mentioned somewhere. If they're swing side by side, you need to remove one of them.
Well, of course.
But that was what it said about
You'll
cleaning.
hold off on playground for another week
I think we could wait.
until we get more clearance and direction on that
Well,
one.
so just keep in mind, we're not scheduled to meet next week, because next week is the election. So you
Right.
have to have a special meeting in the week after is town meeting. So you need to pick a special meeting if you plan to reopen anything between now and your next regular meeting.
I'm on, I'll get to use 1 second. I'm on the opinion that we allow it open because we can't enforce it anyways, but we put that it's use at your own risk.
But we're not cleaning it.
We can't, there's no way
Yeah,
you
I
can
know.
clean it.
You clean it.
So as
So
long
we-
as that's known,
so
and
we-
you're following the guidelines that are set forth by the state as far as wearing a mask, stay 6 feet apart, clean your hands and all that stuff, and we're not cleaning it, use at your own risk.
So we need to put, get signage of some form.
Bill?
Just the point that, in a week, the guidelines may not be any clearer than they are today. They might be just as vague. Clean frequently. Define frequently. Nobody's defined that. So, and kind of in Selectman Watson's opinion, I know I have children. I'm not gonna take either one of them down to the playground unless I have a case of wipes with me that I can wipe off whatever they're gonna use before they get on it. The problem is, and we know what it is, we've never had 100% buy-in on anything we've tried to do, right?
Yeah.
So the majority of us are always dependent on the minority of us to do the right thing. Therein lies the problem. I cross my fingers and pray we can all do the responsible thing and be responsible people that we are and should be. Can't guarantee that, though. But, you know, I'm all for getting back to as much normalcy as possible, and I know to Kathy's point, I do know that 10 and 11, 12-year-old kids will go down there on their bikes on their own. I don't know how any of us are ever gonna prevent that from ever happening. You'll have to station a policeman down there 24/7 to keep that happening. I don't think that's realistic. It's just not within our 24/7, 365 control. And without any enforcement, we can jump up and down and we can cry and we can yell and we can scream all we want, but at the end of the day, there's nothing we can do to hold anybody accountable.
Yeah, we're finding that out a lot lately.
We're
We can't
finding
do
that out
anything.
quite a
To-
bit lately.
To your point, Selectman Wood, that, how can we enforce it? We're not gonna be able to enforce it. We're not gonna arrest a 10-year-old for going on a swing. However, I go back to the literature that we got that says you can open the playground. I thought it said if you clean. But maybe, again,
I thought that there was a lot of gray
oh, there's a ton of gray.
in that.
So this is providing guidance for the
Right.
operation of playgrounds. It is not,
Mandatory
It's not
requirement.
so it says, until the start of phase 2, these facilities must remain closed to the public. This guidance shall apply until amended or rescinded.
Until the start of phase 2, but we're in phase
Yes.
2, so now
Yes.
that.
Right.
But the,
So all visitors, associated with properties should abide by the specific guidelines outlined. So if we need to abide by the guidelines, we cannot abide by cleaning the
we're
playgrounds.
not cleaning them.
Well,
So if that's a requirement, we cannot abide by
That's
that.
how I interpreted it, that we have to clean it somehow. We're not going to be able to do that.
I think the first challenge is define the word frequently. Is it hourly? Is it yearly?
But we're not gonna do it at all, so.
Well,
It
again,
doesn't,
again,
not at
if
all.
frequently, if frequently is defined as yearly, sure, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it next year.
Well, and
So
right, and
I
I would
understand,
say,
you know?
we may have a mechanism to clean eventually. I purchased 2 of the disinfecting machines that you kind of walk around and fog the buildings with. They haven't
Yeah.
come in yet.
Okay.
If those come in and we could get an extension cord, he could run out, as long
Can
as
I
it's far enough.
volunteer to do that, or can I not do that?
Let
Can I
my-
We have a custodian that could do that.
I mean, on
if we have
Saturday,
equipment.
could I
No.
go-
We don't need an extension cord. There's power at the
No, I know.
bathroom.
But
Oh,
the,
okay.
the cable's not, the cord's not gonna be long enough to go to the swing set with
Oh,
the
no.
little handheld machine.
Oh, yeah. I'll buy the
So
extension
yeah, we
cord.
could run an extension cord and he could, but they haven't come in yet. So that's an easy way to walk around and sort of fog the equipment.
But we don't have
Otherwise,
it.
I don't know how we clean it. I just don't.
Well, we're not gonna clean it. That's my point. was
We just have parent volunteers, parents might actually volunteer to
Right,
do it.
but, okay.
But other than
I don't know, the
Have
guidelines.
the fire department go practice and hose it down today?
But water's not cleaning it.
Did they mix it with chlorine?
Oh,
I'm just-
yeah,
But it said we don't need it
Like a dunk
disinfected.
that's true.
Right, but how do you define
It was in
cleaning?
there.
I don't,
I mean, is
Okay.
rain cleaning?
I guess the
don't know.
question,
I don't know.
Acid rain, right? Acid rain, that cleans.
I don't know.
this is one of those really gray areas, I'm
It's
afraid.
so great that whatever decision we make is gonna be right, because there's no other way to read it, right? You can read it either way.
Well, we're certainly not going to enforce.
Well, we'll take a
If-
vote. I mean, I think we've all discussed it, and we can take a vote based on 50/50 of the Board of Health, and then some.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you for that, guys.
Thank you for the straight and
We
narrow.
need a
Well, it made
motion.
it
Yeah,
discussion
go
a
ahead.
little more lively.
I'll make a motion that we open up the playground.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. For discussion, can you add at your own risk?
Sure. Well, at your own risk.
So people know that we're not cleaning it, and we have no means to clean it, then use at your own risk?
Using at your own risk,
It's,
yeah, sure, I can add that.
Can you suggest that they bring their own cleaning? If they feel uncomfortable, they should bring their own cleaning?
Yeah, I mean, we
things?
can certainly put that in.
Right?
I
I don't
can't, I can't fit all this in a 2.5-minute call, so it's all gonna go on our website.
With the suggestion that people bring their own cleaning materials for safety?
I don't think that needs to
Well,
be in
No.
there.
if you're gonna put that on a sign, people aren't gonna read it, there's just too much verbiage.
No, I know, we're not on the sign. I mean, this is
I'm gonna
just for
read
your
it.
motion.
I don't think that needs to be in the
No?
motion.
No,
Okay.
just
The
that,
motion is,
Just
open
protecting
it at your
myself
own
so when
risk, and
people
it was
call and
seconded.
complain.
Yeah, I think the other stuff is just ancillary.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the playground piece? All those in favor? All right. So now do we move on to Washington Park? Is that something we tackle tonight too?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they're waiting on direction from you.
All right.
we already
Look
established.
at that, we're getting something done.
the
So
playgrounds.
GBL shared with you all the guidelines that they put together, that would take the steps for Phase 2 practices and Phase 3 games. I'm hoping that Phase 3 will allow games. So, and then you also have in your packet an email from a resident that's looking for use of Washington Park for a family wiffle ball game.
All right.
And that would have to be, if you agree to open for GBL, we'd have to clear their schedule before we allow any other events to take place.
Correct,
But,
yeah.
so you could, if you wanted to take action on that, it would have to be contingent upon GBL's
Okay.
schedule.
Anybody have any opinions on Washington Park? Kathy, you seem like you want to
I guess
start.
make a motion, we open the baseball fields at Washington Park
I just
for
didn't
the
see.
Phase 2
is
restrictions
that?
and the guidelines that were sent to us in this
Uh,
file that we have.
I don't have, I can't
I
find, I
haven't
don't have.
seen
Find that either.
I didn't see.
I don't have
that.
the
Is it correspondence from
paperwork from
GBL?
Groveland
I didn't see
Baseball
it.
League.
Yeah, it should be in your packet, yeah.
Huh,
Just the one
he
that
has it,
highlighted.
I didn't see that.
No, it's
Oh,
after, it should be,
No.
it should have been on the table,
oh,
with the stuff I left you all at the table. It's got a highlight.
whoa, that's why, okay, hang on,
It wasn't in the original packet.
I'm switching packets,
This, okay.
that's okay.
Yep, and that's it, right
This
there.
is
Yep.
it here?
So it's blue, the heading is blue, and then there's highlighted blocks on there.
This is a lot of them, got it.
There you
Good.
go.
No, I used to like to read.
Okay,
So it's pretty standard with what's been discussed.
Right.
it's actually very specific.
It is very specific.
I do like that, how specific things are laid out. That is
This is very
very
good.
helpful.
Yeah,
So does someone want to make a motion regarding,
Kathy did.
I motion
Yeah.
favorable based on these,
all right.
and,
Did anybody second? I know it's been a few minutes and I forgot.
right,
No, I don't have a second yet.
I don't think someone seconded it yet.
Somebody want to second this? Someone wants to read it?
Just wanted to read how they're gonna
Yeah.
handle the catcher's equipment, but they have a,
No spitting.
Well, number 15, I think addresses that, right? Pretty much?
what, catches?
Everything.
16.
Well, 16, yeah.
Yeah,
16 is specific to catches.
Yep.
But there is 15 is specific to,
So
you
can
gotta
you
bring your own
second the
hat.
motion so we can discuss?
Sure, second.
All right.
thank you.
So Bill, you want to look at 15 and 16?
No, 15 and 16
This
are
is very
exactly what
well
I'd wanna
written.
see.
Yep. Agreed, I like
Mm-hmm.
everything in here. Ed, do you have anything?
No, it looks pretty good, but how about recommendation from Board of Health?
They didn't see it.
we haven't seen it.
Would you like
It's pretty much, if you're in favor of opening the other fields, this is more restrictive
This
than
is
the
this
board.
is a lot.
This is-
So,
But I'll give him a couple minutes to review it so you can.
Well, that's good.
Ed, can you give yours to Claire so she can take a look at it?
I love 14.
That makes sense there, number 3.
No coaches will be allowed in the field to disagree or argue a call.
Well, it should have that anyways.
Yeah, well, believe me.
and Mark from GBL is on the Zoom call, if you have any questions specifically for him.
No, I like the 20 points on here. It's very informative and very concise. I appreciate the information that Mark and the GBL have put together. Thank you. This is one of the things that actually makes this job a little easier.
Yes.
Mark's on the call. I've got a question for Mark, if he doesn't mind answering. Major leagues, you know, they're 11 and 12, pretty easy.
Oh, you'd have to turn the volume up.
T-ball, how do you, these guidelines are gonna be tough for T-ball age, kindergarten, first grade. You think that you'll have any problems with that age group specifically?
So, Bill, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Hey, fine.
All right, this is Mark Ranget, president of Groveland Baseball. These guidelines and outlines are only covering our majors, minors, and farm teams at this point. We have not made a decision to move forward without seeing how these guidelines would work in the first couple of weeks of practice before we decide to move forward with our T-ball and our first grade divisions.
Okay, so majors I know is 11 and 12, minors is 9 and 10. The instructionals have to be 7 to,
In second grade, farm is second grade,
Farm.
so it's second grade up through sixth grade. Farm is second grade, third and fourth is minors, fifth and sixth is majors. So taking that into consideration, because we understand what it's like with T-ballers and herding cats, we decided as a board to make a delayed decision on those levels.
right, yeah, that'll be the most challenging age group for sure.
Correct.
No, that's it, no other questions, yeah, thanks, Mark, appreciate all you do.
Board of
No
Health,
problem, thank you.
Board of Health, any comments?
No, I think this is great.
Good?
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
guidelines
Claire,
are
you all
awesome.
right?
I know.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Mark, that was very good.
Thank you all.
Okay, so, it sounded like there was a chicken in Mark's
Oh,
house.
you know, one more question, the
Yeah.
bleachers. The
Right.
bleachers
I don't think
will
there's any,
be
no spectators.
closed off or open?
No spectators.
So, Bill, we're gonna move the bleachers out of the way as part of our plan. We're gonna have areas for spectators. We're drawing up maps of the ballparks right now. We're gonna spray paint areas for the players to put equipment down, so they have their own 6-foot circle with their equipment. And we're gonna move the bleachers outside of the immediate location, so spectators can set chairs socially distanced apart.
Oh,
Okay.
Nice.
One more question, only because I've had so much experience down there. Your snack shack will remain closed during this time?
During phase 2, correct, we would come back to discussion for phase 3, in preparation of games, but, to be determined at this point.
Okay, so no water, no nothing will be sold in and around that shack for the time
So
being?
it's asked that all players bring their own, water.
Yep.
And snacks to the game, no shared coolers, no sunflower seeds, no gum to adhere to the guidance around no spitting. So we copied a lot of this from the Little League Baseball return to play guidelines as well.
Okay.
great.
And will you be providing porta-johns as in the past, or no?
We're not, for phase 2, that's gonna need to be a discussion around the cleaning and whatnot for phase 3, but in the past, we've had locked the porta potties when we're not having games down at the park.
Right, right. Okay, all right, thank you.
Good. Thank you, Mark.
No problem, thank you very much.
All right, so,
I make a motion.
we already have a
We
motion.
did,
Motion,
and
yeah, we had a second?
Yep,
Yep,
Okay,
you
good.
seconded, Kathy made the motion.
we're already ready. We're gonna vote?
All right, all those in favor?
Yes.
Okay. I guess now would be a good time for that individual request from the family.
Well, what about the playground at Washington Park? Is that covered under our other playground vote, or? I mean,
No, no, because your initial one was the Pines, and this one was only for baseball fields, so if you'd like to
All
open
right,
the
so let's move over to the playground at Washington Park. assuming that we'll take the same approach as the Pines
Yeah.
with Selectman Watson's motion. Can you read that one over again so we can just use that as a
At
template?
your own risk.
Well, I make a motion that we open the playground at Washington Park under the same restrictions and parameters that we're currently opening the playground at the Pines. Why reinvent the wheel?
At your own risk.
For clarity.
And I know
Go
there's a
ahead.
bunch of toys that were put over, I
They should
think.
be removed.
I thought
Right,
they,
I don't want them back there though, right
No.
now either.
Right.
no
So-
common toys,
Yeah.
correct.
Right.
And, oh, that is a good one. How about cover that sandbox then? Can we cover
Are you
that?
gonna second his motion so we can?
Second.
All right, go ahead.
Could we cover that sandbox, like have a tarp or something so that it doesn't encourage that? That's kind of a common play area. We don't want that.
Do
We don't-
those random toys get put in that Quonset hut there, or what happens with those?
I don't know what happened.
I don't know, but they tend to grow back as soon as people start going back there. The kids leave the toys
Right, so we
behind.
don't want any.
So and it's tends to be the sandbox is the communal toy dumping zone, so if you just cover that.
No, last year, the sandbox was
It
closed.
was full of bees anyway.
Because it was full of mud wasps.
It still
was,
is, or wasps, yeah.
So that might still be closed, considering that, if they couldn't get rid of mud wasps, I
They
don't know how
couldn't,
you can open
but
it.
it's not covered up, is what I'm saying. Do we have like could the highway put a tarp or something on it? So it's obvious? Or do you think it's not needed? I mean, it is a sandbox is a common play area.
I think you encompass that as use as your own risk for the whole thing. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
You could use the same parameters as you're using for the down here at the Pines.
Okay,
Use at your own risk.
then let's just vote.
Exactly. Just copy what you did.
So the motion was for the playground.
The same parameters.
Denise is erasing stuff to redo it for the sandbox and the random toys.
And the wasps.
Give Denise a minute to catch up.
No,
with-
I'm good. I was just erasing Kathy's
Random
sandbox
wasp toys.
amendment
I know,
proposal.
My sandbox.
I don't think you even need to put it in the motion to remove the common toys there. You just have somebody pick them up and
Well, I think the toys are already gone.
They're gone
We
for now.
removed them
We just
initially.
don't want them coming back, we don't
Right.
want anybody bringing anything
Right.
there.
Correct. Who's on,
So we have a
Toy
motion and a second.
yes,
And the original motion for
at your own risk.
the Pines was just open it at your own risk, so
Yes.
there's no other restrictions.
Got it. All right, all those in favor? All right. Getting a headache. Moving on to the request for the family to use the field for a family wiffle ball game. Do we know how many people are gonna take part in this game for that family? I'm
He
assuming-
mentioned it,
Assuming it was 10 or less?
no,
No.
No.
So. But are we still under those 10 or less? Well, I don't even know
Yes.
what we're
Yes.
anyway.
And no contact, right? Just skills and drills.
Yeah, so it doesn't say how many people, a
Individual.
family event to commemorate his son's graduation from high school.
Yeah,
I'm assuming it's not just household family members,
I'm assuming
but I
not.
don't know that.
I'm assuming there's more than, say, 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm. Well, to play a game. And we just said you can't play a game, but
it does say a family event.
Board of Health?
I need to know how many there are, it's gotta be less than,
Did they say when?
gotta be less than 10.
Yes, Sunday, June 28th.
All right, so we have a little bit of time. Could you, my suggestion, and people could approve this or not, could you ask him for a little bit more clarity so we can maybe vote on this Thursday? He's
Yes.
not online. Does everybody agree with that? Maybe get the numbers and,
Yeah, the other thing is, it looks like the date will fall beyond Phase 3.
if everything goes as planned, yes.
but we also said we want to see what
No.
our
No?
permitting from the other.
Phase 3,
Oh, it's July 9th or something.
1, 2, 3. Oh, no, you're right. So Phase 3, if all goes according to plan, should be June 20,
Ninth?
oh, no, 29th.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, June 29th, so it would be the day before.
Yeah. Does that seem reasonable? Anybody else want to ask any more questions about that?
No, but we have to do it subject to the permitting of the leagues that use those facilities too, right? We just
Around
don't.
their permitted use.
Right,
yeah.
right, we said that, yeah, okay,
He's not on the call, is he?
No.
No.
okay.
You want to add anything to that?
Well, You could issue it with the contingency that it be a 10 or less.
We could. Anybody have any comments on that?
No, but I don't think it'd be an issue if we waited a week to get a little more information from
Well, it wouldn't even be a week, it'd be Thursday, because we're gonna meet Thursday anyways.
Thursday, so a couple of days.
Couple days.
I mean, my thought is that, anything we can do to encourage that to happen, but I do wanna know what the numbers are, and more specifics, if that would be available to us, so.
Yeah, it'll be a couple of
Yeah.
days, it matters much to
If you
him.
could respond to him and ask him what the specifics are around it, that'll help us to make a decision Thursday.
Okay.
Thank you. Process for approving amended liquor license premises for Phase 2 plan.
So while we were in our meeting last week, the governor changed all the requirements for liquor licenses for outdoor
Of course.
seating. So they removed the requirement for a public hearing, they removed just for this temporary change. They removed the abutters notices, they removed the formal application process. However, the regulations require that the Board of Selectmen establish a process for approving such requests and consist of a revised seating plan, but we are required to file the revised seating plan that articulates the new area to be utilized with the temporary license that is granted to the ABCC.
So each establishment has to have their own seating plan
Right.
Correct.
approved.
They have to have their own seating plan, and as I included in here, they still need to follow the initial outdoor dining guidelines, which requires them to be within an enclosed space. It has to be contiguous to the licensed premises. The licensing authority should consider the type of neighborhood for noise. And then they need to follow the updated requirements, which talks about 6 people per table and 6 feet apart at least. So I will say we have 2 liquor licenses, only one has requested it thus far. I would be surprised if the other one was planning to do outdoor seating, where indoor dining is scheduled to have Phase 2 at some specific date. But under your votes, under your discussion, I think, the votes, is the request for the temporary license for Pub 97, who's already provided something. I did tell him, the board has not set their requirements yet, so if anything else is needed, I would let him know. He did send pictures in, I did not include them in your packet because they did not print out well, but I gave you his seating chart that he provided. And the checklist that he met with the health agent, and went over a checklist.
Does the Board of Health have any comments on that?
They say they
Well, this
met-
is the process, so right now
Right.
we're just discussing the process for amending a liquor license.
But did you have a chance to look at that information as far as,
No.
Well, their
I
health,
talked to Joe today, or
Joe
the health agent, he just said that he went over everything with the owners.
anybody have any comments on that? Yeah, sorry, yep.
Anything we can do to support the businesses, they've been taking a beating here, so, and that's why the governor kind of relaxed some of the requirements to put this on the fast track. And we need to support these businesses that have basically, most of them been out of business or takeout only, so if we can move something like this forward, it would be a big help.
But we have to move it forward with some kind of,
well, I'll make a motion for favorable action on the temporary license. It only stays in effect by the,
No,
Phase-
we're not on the license itself. You have to set a process on which you will authorize the license. That's required under the law. So that's what
Okay.
you're on right now.
okay, so
Is,
this is our process. So we don't make a motion, we just,
yes, but you can't authorize the temporary license right now, because we have to have a process in place before you vote on the license,
okay.
legally.
Are they, as far as a process, are you talking about on a case-by-case basis?
No, you have to set a process for how you will deal with applications that come before you. For instance, some towns are still requiring an application. Some towns are still requiring a formal documentation of what they're doing. as I said, we only have two, potentially one gave us something, so you could vote the process that you will not require a formal application, just a seating chart, if you will, and a meeting with the health agent to ensure that they're in compliance. But you have to have a defined formal process at a publicly posted meeting before you can start approving temporary licenses.
Okay.
So our process could be an outline of the seating area, a checklist of
Meet
what
with the health agent,
Yeah, meet with the health agent, a checklist of
checklist.
what the employees are scheduled to do as far as masks and hand washing, what individual patrons are expected to do. That's the kind of outline that we can put in place. And then we can go and say, you've met these outlines, now you can have that temporary license. So, on the outline that we,
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Should we have them file an application just so we have something on record, a document?
We don't have one, the state waived theirs, so we don't have one normally,
I
because
think
it normally
less
has to go
paperwork
through the
is
state.
probably better
I was
for
gonna say,
temporary things, but that's me.
So the process just needs to be
state our process.
right, so the process simply is an outline of the seating arrangements,
Can
an
be.
outline of their safety protocols, and
That could be it.
So,
I would include the
Approval from
discussion
the
with
Board of Health.
approval from the
and
health
Board of Health
agent.
approval.
yeah,
I'm okay with that.
okay, so,
Ed, did you want to add anything?
No, I thought we, you said that the agent had been out and approved it already?
yes, that's what the letter
So
says.
we have a Board of Health
Do
approval.
we have a basic outline? Kathy, did you want to add anything to the outline?
No, I just would make it now, make the motion that we approve the following process, that we, business that wants to have this temporary license to serve alcohol outside has to comply with the Phase 2 requirements, which are listed, as far as visibility and proximity. In addition, they need to have a visit from the health agent and signify approval of their plan, an outline of their seating, an outline showing their seating chart, and a checklist showing the compliance with the COVID-19 safety protocols. It's nice to have a checklist, I think.
Motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and second, any further discussion? Bill?
I'd like to see the language changed, wherever the word need is, should be replaced with must.
I don't have the word need, so I don't know when Kathy said it.
I don't know, I don't have
I
the
think
word
she
need.
said they need to have Board of Health approval. I think it should say they must have
I
Board of
said
Health approval.
approval from the
They
Board of Health agent.
must submit a seating plan.
I said that.
They must submit, wherever the word must should be included, should be, so that it's, there's no vague, there's no ambiguity, there's no, well, I thought it said this. No, no, no. These are simple things, 3 simple things you must comply with in order to have that. So there's no,
This
no
is the
question.
process. Okay, it's
Okay.
fine.
I'm a funny language kind of guy.
Where? All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the process?
Yes. Now what?
Now we can move to reopening plan for employees.
But, so we don't do anything about
That's
this yet?
down the,
It's not under the COVID discussion, it's under your votes.
Oh, so we're on another
Yeah,
topic.
we needed to have a defined plan, so we did the plan and then we'll vote the license.
I have 2 piles for this meeting. You-
no, there's a ton of stuff.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So we have
Proceed.
reopening plan for employees. Did you want to start when you have a second?
So I shared with you, I don't know if it was the last meeting or the meeting before, I think it was our last regular meeting.
Yeah.
My recommendation for reopening, to employees. The Public Works Department's all returned today to full staff. We are short a person under the Highway Department. Later on, you'll see we have a resignation. So they are down to 3, so they're all back in today to get ready for summer paving and summer work. The water and sewer guys returned today at their full staffing, taking their necessary precautions. I've been following what other communities are doing. It's all over the place as far as when they have employees returning and then when they have their buildings being open to the public. I would still recommend probably June 22nd for employees to come back to work, Monday through Thursday with no Monday evening hours and no Fridays. keeping one person per office or desks at least 12 feet apart. Allow remote work for for people that have childcare issues, or we have one office, the Planning Conservation Office, they sit rather close, so they would alter their schedules. And then the Council on Aging, we have 2 folks in there, but they have a second office that's not utilized right now, so they could move the second person into there. And then the Water and Sewer Department, there's more than 12 feet, we could easily distance in that office. I would recommend we do that. We have the library employees come back either June 22nd or June 29th, which would be the following week. And hopefully the start of Phase 3. Same thing, their full-time staff would come back on a 4-day work week. And curbside pickup, that's allowed under the phasing requirements, so they could do a curbside pickup process. And then we continue to monitor when we will open to the public. Some are saying mid-Phase 3, some are saying Phase 4, some are saying by appointment only. I think the important thing right now is to get employees back and get them into a regular routine where it's safe enough. I will, whatever day we decide, I will have a checklist that all employees will have to sign and submit every day, identifying their health issues. We are required to set sort of a one-way travel around our square building. Anytime an employee leaves their office, the expectation is they have to wear a mask because they could cross with employees in the bathrooms or in the kitchens or things like that, so.
So you're gonna have one, like,
That's what's recommended, sort of a one-way around the square, I don't know. We could probably do a divided line
So-
down the middle, but.
A couple of questions that I have. Why the difference between June 22nd for the town hall employees and June 29th for the library?
There really wasn't one, other than, there's really nothing that the library, I mean, they can do curbside pickup, but they're not really dealing with residents like we are. I mean, we have tax issues and bills, and, they don't, all their programs have been canceled, so,
Okay.
I just felt there was no need to really bring them back on the 22nd. We could even
But there's
wait till after the 4th of July to bring the library back if you wanted, because that's 4th of July week.
But there's
Bring
no
them
need to
back.
push the town employees to the 29th either?
It certainly could be. There's nothing I was just trying to pick a day.
Okay.
So we could do them all the 29th. Like I said, that's 4th of July week. You could do them all July 6th if you want.
Yeah.
It's just arbitrary dates that I was trying to get people back to work.
And then everyday acknowledgement, they have to acknowledge their,
That's what's recommended, is a checklist every day when people come into the building.
for the temperature and everything. Yep, okay.
So we have those scanning thermometers. We could take it that, or we could just have a question on there, do you have a fever? But it should be, do you have any of these symptoms? Have you been in contact with anyone in the last 24 hours? I mean, other towns have very specific checklists that they recommend we implement once we start bringing employees back into the facility.
the Board of Health agrees with that? Get some head
Definitely.
nodding.
I actually
Both
think
of
they should do a fever check, though, too.
Yeah, I mean, we have
It's
them,
almost in
so.
unison, so, okay.
So we could certainly push it off a week if we want, if we're doing, I mean, if we're gonna start doing the scanning of the temperature checks.
My opinion, and we'll get to everybody else's, is if we're gonna do the 22nd for some and the 29th for others, and we just do it after July 4th, but that's my opinion. Bill?
Don't really have much of an opinion one way or the other, as long as it's safe. Do it as soon as possible. One quick question, the water department, are they far enough along in that new building that they could possibly move some clerical people there?
Well, they only have
Free up
one.
some space?
They only have one clerical person.
Is it possible they can move that one person, we could open up, that space could be opened up to maybe more people being able to work at the same time? For example, you were saying they'd be switching off in planning, but if you can open up some more office space, maybe they don't have to switch off, they could both.
Yeah, I mean, I've offered the middle room. For Rebecca, she said it was just easier to work from home on like the 2 days a week the conservation's here, because she's, working full-time from home now. So, I mean, we certainly can speak with them. I don't know that they're ready to start taking bills and stuff with customers, because bills will go out July 1st. I don't know if they'll have the ability, once we open to the public, if they're ready for that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if they're ready for that either, but even just a limited basis where they could work over there and free
Yeah, I
up
don't know that
space.
they're
Yeah,
ready,
I don't know
but-
if they're that far along. That was my only question.
What's that?
Yeah.
Ed, anything?
No, it doesn't make much difference. No, I can go either way, sure. The 2nd or the 29th, doesn't matter.
All right, so the date's up for discussion. Kathy, anything other than dates?
I know, Well, the people are already working in this building on a daily basis anyway, right?
But not everybody.
But not everybody, but we already have people coming in here, so I guess the question is, do we do any protocols right now when people show up?
No.
There's not enough people showing up, so
Right.
we're trying to
Well,
have
we
it.
don't have that many work. I mean, you're talking about adding, what, 3 or 4
We
more
don't, but
Yeah.
right now, the people that are here were not required to be here. They were all told to stay home.
Now, I know,
So
but
they're
they're-
taking it upon themselves to be
Be
here.
here,
When
right.
we require employees to be here,
Okay.
we need to make sure that we are taking the precautions to keep
I
our
get
employees
it.
there.
Okay, so once we decide that they have to be here, then we have to be ready to have our protocol.
Correct. We have to have a plan
I
in place if
understand.
someone gets sick while they're working, how we deal with the other
Okay.
employees. So, I mean, if
No,
it,
no,
I,
no.
I would just say, I mean, if we're looking at the 22nd or the 29th, we're already closed part of the week for the 4th of July. I would
That
say
would
either
be a
do the
better week.
22nd or the July 6th, because we're already
I vote
closed.
July 6th only because that gives us more leeway and more discussion, or more avenues from the state on the 28th.
Yes, we should be within phase 3 by that point.
I like that, but that's my opinion.
And we will have a meeting, we have a meeting on the 29th.
I actually agree with Selectman Wood on this, because I feel like we're such a small town, having people fill out a questionnaire or doing, but who's gonna be doing that? Are we gonna have Claire running down here every day? I don't know, but
It's probably me.
probably Denise. Scan. So I feel like, they've been working from home, everything, the work is getting done, right?
Yes, everything's getting done.
All of our town. work-
Residents are being taken care of.
Correct. So people are able to contact people that they need. I personally have not gotten any complaints from anybody that they couldn't get in touch with someone they needed. So why don't we wait through this phase till July 6th?
All right, so, someone want to give motion on a date?
So we'll do town hall and library.
On July 6th. I'll make a
Well,
motion
someone-
to put, so we're bringing them back on July 6th to Monday through Thursday hours, no Monday nights, and no Fridays still.
And still not open to the public.
Oh, and still, correct, still not open to public, but that could be subject to change if we get more information.
Yep.
Motion?
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? No? All those in favor? All right. Moving on to state revenue outlook for fiscal year '21.
Oof. Do we have to?
Oh, that was a great meeting to be on.
Oh, you were on it?
Oh, yeah, another hour and a half of my time.
So we probably don't need you ladies any
I was
further.
gonna say, thank you.
That's not true. We always need you ladies.
Thank you for your input.
Yes.
You're helpful. You're in the boat with us, so.
I like the fact that you didn't agree on one of the issues, because it's, right now, how do you know for sure
Right.
what the right step is?
It's okay.
Yeah, thank you for that.
And Mike, if you want to, I'm going to wipe down the tables because the water department needs to
Yeah.
come in. So if you want to start talking about the call we were on.
Again, appreciate it.
You enjoyed it so much.
I did enjoy it. There was a lot of,
Someone had their webcam on and was blow drying her hair and eating through the whole meeting.
yeah.
Are you
She-
serious?
No, I tried to tell her that her camera was on, but she couldn't
I
figure
feel
it
like
out.
you could see it.
Yeah.
That's the best
Yeah,
story.
It was interesting, but they did have a lot of information, and I think they expected to have a downturn in revenue statewide based on what is happening the last 3 months or so.
You think?
So, but I mean, Denise, it was quite drastic, the numbers that they were talking about.
Oh, yeah. I bet you over 30%, right?
It was, I'm going to need that.
Oh,
So we won't need this one, I don't think. But Colin, you can come in.
I'll take
We're
that paper.
wrapping it up, but you can come in.
I could take that page back.
Yes, so the state is predicting numbers to look 3 to 4 times worse than the 2008 recession. That their revenue right now is expected to be down quite a bit. The lottery numbers are suffering, as are the, so you can sit in 2 ends. Here, how are you?
It's easy to see why the lottery numbers are suffering.
Yeah, no one had extra money to play.
Yeah, so the lottery numbers, the meals tax, the hotel tax, all of that has obviously come to a halt, so,
So with the DMV and all that other stuff we pushed out as far as registration and inspections and licenses and everything.
yeah, so,
But
so they are recommending anywhere from a 10 to 40% cut on state aid. They are going to, they're still working on what they're going to cut. They are gonna try not to affect Chapter 70. They're gonna try not to affect Chapter 90. What they will likely affect is our unrestricted government aid, which we get about $750,000. So as we've talked about over the last few meetings, I still recommend that we move forward with the budget we have, and because there's no way to predict what's going to be cut and how much. I've purposely held off on sending out 2 of the excise commitments, hoping that we can get the revenue in next fiscal year, and that'll help us. That, if we're cut 150,000, that maybe we can make that up on revenue. Otherwise, we would have to convene a special town meeting and either decide where and how to cut budgets, if it's a good use of stabilization to patch the 1 year and figure out how we move forward. I think it's too unknown at this point to try and guess what's gonna happen. The state's not expecting to have a set budget for many months. Most towns that I've talked to are all doing a budget at town meeting. We will get to later the 1/12 budget that we need to submit. But no one really wants to wait because we don't know how long we'll be waiting. So I think the plan is still to move forward. The outlook was very dim and very depressing. But I don't think it's a surprise. I think we kind of knew it, given what's happened over the last few months, that it's going to take the state some time to rebound. They talked about using their stabilization account. They said, and I forget the numbers, in 2008, they drained like 50% of their stabilization accounts, helping local cities and towns and the state maintain services. And I believe, if I remember correctly, we had like a 5 or 7% cut to state aid. So we'll see where it comes out. I think we stay the course and wait and see what happens. But it was not a great outlook from the state on revenues or their fiscal '21 outlook, so. Just thought it was important to talk about that tonight.
Any comments?
It should hardly be a surprise, given the circumstances we've been in. I mean, how the state generates their revenue has been significantly impacted since March, so for us to believe that there would be anything but significant cuts coming our way, I think was unrealistic. And I don't see this just being a one-year deal.
I would agree. I think it's gonna take a few years.
Some businesses are gone, they're gone forever. They won't come back. That's gonna create some more hardship. And I see this lasting a couple of 3 years, to tell you the truth. Some economists are saying we could be in this for as long as 9 years before we see a total recovery of the likes that we had prior to the pandemic.
When I came here in 2014, our state aid from Swampscott was still not at the level it was when they cut in 2008. So 6 years later, we still weren't back to the original levels.
Right?
And I think we're gonna be on the same path now. I think it's gonna take many years before we get back to what we saw here in fiscal '20 for state aid.
Oh, I think it's gonna be much worse, because you had many more people impacted by this than we did in '08.
Ed, do you have anything?
No, I think
It is what it
everybody
is.
knew that it was gonna be in this boat. Nobody's playing the lottery. Your meals taxes are down. Everybody expected it. Or should have expected it.
Kathy, anything?
No, I mean, we anticipated this, and, we have reserves, and I think we just wait. I feel like, let's wait till we get more solid information.
Okay,
That's fine.
all right, so
So,
enough doom and gloom.
enough, check that box.
Check that. Discussion and possible vote. We have Colin Stokes, Water and Sewer Superintendent, to discuss a possible sewer easement at Center Street.
And we have a big map.
Got big maps.
Big maps.
Up to you.
All right, so we're proposing or requesting, an easement across the Center Street property to complete easements that we already have on either end of that, for future sewer expansion. We have a sewer easement on the Center Street side by the Millennium Plastics Company, right next to the highway garage. And then on the other end of it, we have an easement that's already included in a conservation restriction next to the power lines. So we just need to connect between the two.
And I do have Rebecca. Rebecca's on the Zoom call, from a planning perspective, if you want her input in this easement as well.
Yeah, let's start with her. Does she have anything to add? Rebecca?
And I'm gonna unmute her.
I'm gonna yell again.
Oh, no, she's, there she goes, okay.
Hello? Rebecca? Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you now. Go ahead.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to be present on the call this evening to kind of go through, essentially what's going on with the, Groveland Community Trail. They are moving forward with hitting their milestones for, getting this on the 2021 tip. And therefore, we need to do, work on getting the conservation restriction in place for the parcel that we are, or a portion of the parcel at Center Street that we are offering as mitigation. So in order for us to finalize that, we need to have the easement, if the board would like to have the easement. Otherwise, it would be extremely difficult for us to amend the conservation restriction to actually allow that easement to go in place.
Got it. Thank you. Ed, did you want to add anything?
No, this, it looks like this is going to be, it's not gonna cut through the highway department yard?
No, we have it routed around the highway yard to line up with the existing easement that is adjacent to the highway yard.
And when you get to Center Street, it's gonna be dead-ended there?
Well, this isn't to put pipe in the ground, this is just for the potential to put pipe in the ground in the future.
So may I just clarify, so I think for that, so step 2 would be when and if the time comes that someone wants to run a sewer line, they would still have to come to this board to get a permission. This is strictly putting an easement
But the easement would be in
before the
place.
conservation restriction gets recorded, so that
Oh, I
we
see.
don't have to do that after the fact. So this is strictly for an easement
Oh, I
of the
got it.
property.
Much more
Now
difficult to
makes
do it after it's restricted.
That's what Rebecca was saying. Okay, I understand.
Did you want to add anything, Kathy?
Nope.
Makes sense
I'm
to
good.
me. Bill?
No, none, let's move forward before conservation messes this all up.
You're feisty
Again,
tonight.
we're on,
Feisty tonight.
we are on
Don't
television.
take offense to that, Mike Dempsey.
No, no offense meant, but I'm just saying that it seems time is of the essence.
It is.
And if we don't do this now, we may lose the opportunity to do it easily later.
Correct.
So I
Good
don't see a
catch, Bill.
problem, let's advance
It's
this.
actually part of our master plan. It's the way it was designed to go in originally, so.
Right, so let's advance this as quickly as possible so we don't get caught up in that kind of turmoil where we have to beg God himself to give us this easement.
All right. Good backtracking, Bill. Let's get a motion. Anybody
Want a
like a motion?
motion? To
Motion
make
to grant them the water and
GM2.
sewer, the easement through the,
GM2.
is it a particular,
It's right here. GM2 easement plan dated 5/26/2020.
yeah, that will ensure that in the future the sewer department is able to extend sewer services to other areas of the town.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
That was easy.
That was
That was
painless.
easy.
All you had to
You guys
do
should come back more often.
Sorry you had to wait.
said the magic words.
All right, moving on. Town meeting quorum requirements. Consideration of possible temporary adjustments of quorum requirements under Article 2 of General Bylaws, if applicable to the upcoming June 22nd annual town meeting, as may be permitted under the pending statewide legislation. A vote will be taken to lower any applicable quorum requirements for this town meeting only after consultation with and approval of the moderator on Thursday, June 11th, 2020. A lot.
So we're not going to do
Aye.
anything?
Yep, Denise, go ahead.
So, so the legislation that we've been talking about for several weeks finally passed the House and Senate last week. The governor signed it into law on Saturday. One of the requirements that was in every version of the pending legislation maintained in the final legislation, which was you could not take a vote on lowering the quorum without a 7-day posting period, which is why last Thursday I posted a second meeting to take the actual vote, so we met the 7-day requirement. You can discuss it tonight. You should come up with a proposal. I've contacted through email the moderator. I told him the outline of how the legislation works. I told him you all would be coming up with a proposal. I would send it to him. As long as he sends back an I approve, then you're welcome to vote on it on Thursday night, and then we post what the new requirement is. Obviously, the goal would be, the hope would be, we still have 100 people, but I think we need to be realistic that we may not. The law allows you to lower the quorum to not less than 10% of the required quorum, which would be 11. I would not recommend that. Town council does not recommend that. The pending legislation changed from the final version, which is beneficial to us. There's no requirement on articles. We can take every article for consideration at town meeting. Some of the earlier versions, you could limit it to only essential business. This one does not. However, I did, in my notification to the moderator, ask that he considered taking a motion on town meeting floor to take the articles out of order, and we do them in reverse, and do all the financial articles first, in case it is very hot or people are tired of wearing their masks. And we can sort of identify the essential articles. One of them would be the community trail article, which we need to have voted on at this town meeting. But if we don't get to some of the other ones, the general bylaws, the zoning and planning, they're not time critical. So
okay.
I've asked him to consider that as well, so at least we can get through it. And as you know, Bagnell does not have air conditioning, and it might be quite warm in end of June. So I think we need to be realistic with our number, but I don't think it should be 11. So now I will turn it over to you. You should discuss it, come up with a proposal, and like I said, you cannot vote formally until Thursday night, but we need to have the town moderator's approval of the plan.
So I've been thinking about this for a couple of weeks, with the approved legislation finally coming in, and that information coming down the pipe, that was basically inevitable, that we could adjust the meeting requirements, and also factoring in people's concerns about being in groups, even with masks and social distancing, and trying to come up with a realistic number for a quorum, and I keep landing at 50. But that's my own opinion. Start with you, Bill. What do you think?
Yeah, I, like you, I've been kind of throwing this around in my mind for a while, and I think my number I came up with was 2/3, 67. So we're not far off.
Ed?
But I agree with Denise, 11's not the number.
Ed?
Just a question, what did the town council recommend?
They didn't, they just said, don't make it 11.
State guidelines.
So, I mean.
12.
So again, it could be, I mean, you could make it 12, again, if we have 50, that's great. When I spoke with council at length last week, when it was still the pending version, and we talked about, having masks, spacing out the chairs, having one direction. So we talked about the logistics, which they were fine with. There was a question at the time of, because some of the votes require 2/3,
yeah.
and some of the votes at the time, if it was only certain articles you could take, that if you made it 12 and you got your 100, could you still act upon them? But sort of all that went out the window when the legislation passed finally. So I don't really know what the magic number is. But, theoretically, if you had it, as a smaller number, you could fill it with selectmen, finance, and employees. So I just don't think that sends the right message. I think while it would be great to get town business done, and we really need to do that, I'm hopeful that we can, if we set it at an acceptable number, that we'll get that, and we'll still be able to conduct business appropriately.
Ed, did you,
I have a suggestion.
Ed, did you have a number that,
No, 50 sounds, 50 sounds like a good round number.
Kathy?
I think we'll probably get 50, but I was thinking to set it at 30 so we could start the special town meeting and move along and get people out.
So we don't have a special town meeting.
Oh, we don't have anything
There's
before?
nothing for
So it's
special
just
town meeting.
annual, okay.
So the annual will start at 7.
Okay, so, I was counting, as Denise was saying, the number of people on committees that will probably be our faithful followers, people that have been meeting and are still healthy, and then factoring in the weather. I guess my point, if you go to just half of our quorum to 50, that's great, I hope we get that. But if we got up to 47, or 45, or 42, and then had to send everybody home, I'd feel bad about making people come out, and I feel like there's no way we're not gonna get 30, based on just the amount of people that know that we need the quorum, that will show up, our volunteers on the fire department, town boards, town committees, we're gonna hit the 30 and hopefully get to 50, but
I guess my my response to that would be people making decisions for 8,000.
Well,
No, I mean, 50's no better.
No,
It
it's
is
not.
better. You know, we all know that, 40 or
Um,
50 people can come in with their special interest and make decisions for the town, but I think lowering it to an absurdly low number has bad optics, in my opinion.
I mean,
That's why I came back with
yeah.
50.
So I will just say, keep in mind though, so if we are the 22nd and we don't get whatever your quorum is, if we don't get that, we would have to adjourn to another evening, whatever that is, but we would only have 8 days in the fiscal year left. So, again, that's why the next item is to discuss a 1/12 budget, that if we cannot get a quorum, technically, if we don't vote a 1/12 budget, we stop on July 1st. There is no business being conducted here. If we don't have a quorum, we don't get a budget passed without this 1/12 budget. So that would be the only thing, I mean, that would be the only reason why I would say that Kathy is maybe
not awful, not always wrong.
no, not off the mark with 30, because if we set it at 50, again, the hope is that we get 100.
I want 100.
But if we don't and we can't meet a quorum, we only have 8 days, 7 other days to have a town meeting. So I will just leave that out there. I'm hopeful that we get the 50. You know, town council said she hasn't seen other towns. There was only a handful that have had them in the last week. She said at this point, people want to get out. They want to get out of the house. I will say, granted, a lot of towns have chosen to do them outdoors.
Football
Where,
field.
where actually the argument last week was whether or not they could bring alcoholic beverages. So she said, honest to God, that's what we've been discussing here.
Approved.
But, so, you know, I don't know. I don't know if we'll get the number. I do think we have a lot of people that regularly follow. I mean, as we've been sitting here, I've gotten a bunch of emails from people that are watching the meeting just on different topics we've talked about. So people are actively involved in government.
Good.
I hope if it's 30, we get them. I hope if it's 50, we get them. But that's the only thing I will say, is just think of a number that we can get so that we can conduct business before June 30th.
Well, we got 30 on the low side, 50 in the middle, 67 on the high side.
Yeah.
So what's the mediator on that?
Well, if-
Probably 50
I
is.
feel like we can get, I feel like
What
we
is
can
right?
get 30 for sure, and therefore, and then we should push hard to get more. That's what I feel. I just don't want to miss it. I don't want to miss
Ed,
the
what do you think?
opportunity to vote a budget.
Still like 50, 50 sounds reasonable.
Bill, you were high. What do you think?
I wasn't high, I was.
I'm higher than us. Higher than us.
Correct
Let me
that,
rephrase
guys.
that. Higher than us.
This meeting will go on record.
No, I mean, I'd be willing to come down to the 50 number that the two of you gentlemen have suggested. I do agree with you. I think lower than 30, lower than 50 gives a bad image. It just, I'm always one to try to get more people involved, and now it seems like we're actively trying to get less people involved, and that shouldn't be our goal. So if 50 is as low as I can go, then I'll agree with you on 50. I just think, to your point, 30 just gives a bad image of
If we vote 50, one second, Kathy. If we vote 50, can the town moderator come back and make his own suggestion that we vote on? Or are we saying we agree at 50, we want you to approve this? What does that look like?
So it's a combined vote. So it's either he needs to be part of the discussion, absent that, he needs to approve what the Board of Selectmen vote. And I sent him a detailed email. I didn't hear back from him for today, so.
We've got no discussion, so it's up to us.
Okay.
Again, you can't vote tonight, so whatever you're gonna decide, I would vote to submit it to the moderator for approval, whatever your number is.
Okay.
And then we'll formally vote on Thursday. I did ask, and I tried, I asked town council if I post a meeting today, can we meet at town meeting at 6:50 and see how many people show up?
Yeah, and
They
then
said
change
no.
it.
I tried,
That's
hoping
smart.
that,
Let's be smart,
But-
though.
but she said, no, that doesn't really fall within
42.
the
Right.
requirements of the
So-
legislation, so.
So years and years ago, we used to allow special town meetings with 10 people, and I was on the finance board, and we fought that. So I understand your point of view. We're like 10, because then we had departments divide, and it had to be, articles had to be under $10,000. So they got crafty, and they would bundle it, and 10 people were approving fairly large amounts of money. So totally get the office thing, totally get it. I just rather be wrong on the side of caution and run a meeting at 48 or 49 people than, I feel like we're gonna get 50 people. I just wanna be like really sure. And I'm wondering if we set it at 30, maybe 75 will show up because they're angry that we're gonna run it with 30. I don't know. I wanna just make sure we get a town meeting. That's my goal.
Well, I
wanna
guess the
make sure.
hard part is that we only get one shot at this, right?
I mean, would you feel badly if we voted this budget with
I'd feel
40
badly about a lot of
No,
things.
no, no, no,
because-
no, seriously, with 40 people, would you feel that we hadn't done the best we can with 40 people, if that's all we
But your
got?
number was 30.
I know, but I'm just saying, but these numbers are like, they're just a shot in the dark. We just don't know. I'm just trying to make sure that whatever we get, we can operate our town meeting with what shows up, and I don't know what to expect.
That's the whole thing, is we get one shot at this, and we put some kind of
Yeah.
bar, and we don't know if that bar is high or low, or,
Have any towns around us met inside recently? Could we get a gauge on like how many people actually?
None that I know of.
Rats.
with any number, right? We don't know if we're gonna get 40, we don't know if we're gonna get 30, we don't, I mean, this is a different time and different circumstances, and
Right.
people's spheres play into this, obviously. There's a lot that we don't know, so whatever number we have come up with has gotta be both logical and attainable, and
Wow.
what does that look like?
Well, do you think, can we think in our heads, reaching 50? Do we know enough people to call and drag them down there and they're willing to come?
So I will say, on that note, there are some, I don't think there's anything controversial, but there are some articles that get a lot of support. For instance, we have a Bagnell School playground, that if it's not passed, they don't get a new playground.
Then we'll
So,
get 50.
so we could put the feelers out to the school
Was
that
a
we
big
need to
topic.
meet, we need to meet a 50-person level. I do think that there are a few of those, like I said, the community trail article has to happen. So we reach out to the community trail folks and say, make sure you get, I mean, we could end up with 200 at this point, but,
Right, and I think
Okay,
sorry,
Yeah.
before I forget, and I think rightly so, that the normal people who vote consistently, the elderly, are probably a bit more timid to do
Course.
something like this, so we're gonna have to rely on those parents that want the playground and the
correct.
specifics that were around the
Right.
playground and some of the other issues, to come out and spend an hour, hour and a half, or whatever it takes to get this done, so those projects are met and funded, and we can move the town business forward without relying on those typical group of people that will vote regularly, that
Yeah.
might be afraid to come out, understandably.
And I like the suggestion to go backwards for the finance first, so that if people start to feel like, I've been here long enough,
Right.
I'm gonna bail, we can say, well, if we got the finances done, if you need to, if we lose our quorum.
All right.
So,
So we're gonna,
go with 50.
I know there's an app out there, some MIT guy or something invented. Do we know how many people we can physically fit in the cafeteria at 6-foot distancing if everybody came in individually?
so I'm not planning to do a 6-foot. We're providing everyone masks upon entry. So you technically don't need a 6-foot space if people are wearing masks. There will be an area of town meeting for folks that refuse to wear a mask, and those will be 6-foot spaces.
Outside, right?
Um,
Outside.
We also have, if you'll recall, last year, we had the gymnasium wired for sound.
Right.
So the plan is, if people are not comfortable, if there's too many people in the one room, they can sit in the other room and have, the moderator can appoint an assistant moderator to provide feedback. So, I think we'll be fine with just the cafetorium. I've asked any visitors, department heads, I've told them not to come. We don't need extra people there, we don't need to have extra space for people. Let's just get the residents that are voters. So we will provide masks. I've bought small hand sanitizers that we'll give out. I have 4 EMTs from our fire department that will be there with scanning thermometers. We cannot mandate it, but we will ask if people will have their temperatures checked on the way in.
Okay.
I will say I did that earlier, and it was quite fun,
Where'd you do it?
In my office.
Oh, my God.
quite entertaining, so I would recommend everybody do
Okay.
that.
So it's a non-invasive scan. So, I mean, there are steps we're taking, but we don't need to, so that calculation is, so it was developed by the North Andover Town Moderator. And that was more for outdoor spaces for people, so that when you had to have 6 feet because they weren't wearing masks.
Okay.
So that's really primarily what it's been used for. I don't think we need to get to that point.
All right. To make a motion?
So someone might wanna make a motion, I can't even talk, someone wanna make a motion?
Make a motion that we recommend lowering the quorum for this year's town meeting only to 50.
Do you have a second? A second that?
I'll second it.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All right. Did you also want to review articles that are deemed necessary for that order?
We do not need to, because that's not in the final legislation.
All right, moving to discussion approval of 1/12 budget that you highlighted earlier.
Yes, so the 1/12 budget, you'll see it's the pink column on the budget that I gave you. What we are allowed to do is an estimated budget for 1 month. You'll see, and I didn't cover all of the, oh no, I guess I did. So the third column is if we took the recommendation, and that's what the actual 1/12 is. But we have services that we pay up front. We have, like, our insurance, our retirement, those things are paid. So not everything is a straight 1/12.
Oh, I see what you mean.
But I
Yeah.
just wanted to show what it would be. So salaries, I rounded up a little bit just in case. It's not like we're gonna spend it if we don't need it, and we'll just reappropriate the rest of the budget, should we not have a town meeting budget. So this is strictly a contingency if we do not have a quorum, if we can't get people on the 22nd. So this has to be filed. The DOR strongly recommended it, and then on my call with town council last week, they urged me to file one just in case. So you'll see what it
Makes
is.
sense.
Yeah,
I think
have
it's
a
fairly
backup plan.
straightforward.
Plan B.
Yeah, definitely makes sense to have a plan B just in case, which is prudent. So, somebody want to make a motion on that?
I'll make a motion that we approve a 1/12 budget.
Recommendation, the pink column?
No. Is it,
Yes.
yes.
That's what I thought. We're doing so well today. Second.
A motion, and I think we have a motion, and we have a second. Any further discussion?
So the pink column does take into account anything that is front-end loaded in the budget.
Correct. So I'll be completely honest, I did not go to every department to see what they have. The majority of those costs fall under me, like I said, retirement, liability insurance, any contracts that I knew of. I gave, like, the police extra vehicle money because they do a lot of that. I gave the highway some extra overtime because it's the summer months. So I think the only things that are really paid, and association fees. So any place there was education and association, I put more in there to anticipate those July 1st costs. There's no one that I did less than 1/12. So everyone is at least 1/12 or more based on our spending trends.
All right.
And to the best of your knowledge, you've taken care of all those prepayments that happened, so I'm satisfied.
Yes.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All right, moving on to Comcast contract renewal. Kathy, I think you wanted this on here?
Well, I just wanted to find out, I mean, maybe Selectman Watson can explain it to me. I guess I'm wondering, like, when people make complaints about their Comcast service, obviously they can call Comcast, but when they submit complaints to the cable advisory, I'm just wondering what happens with those complaints. Because I think people seem to feel like their complaints aren't getting addressed, is a sense I get. And I just wanted to make sure that, you know, at some point moving forward, we have a presence in our town that would support when people have legitimate complaints about this. It's a monopoly that's operating in our town. We grant them a license 20 years at a time. They set the prices however they want, and we don't seem to have a lot of say. Like, other than just returning your Comcast equipment, you know, which I've done at least once and then had to go back to it. I would like to see that we have a process for complaints so that Comcast knows that the town is also keeping an eye on things. That's all.
Ed, did you want to respond to that?
No, I understand the question, but I haven't got an answer for it.
So, do you have a suggestion, or?
Not at this time. I was kind of trying to figure out what the process was. I thought in the,
From my understanding, and
Yeah.
again, this was something that I had
looked in,
took on a
Yeah.
couple of years ago, there are no alternatives in town. There might be some interest from some other internet providers using basically hotspots on telephone poles, but that is just hearsay, and there's nobody that's come to town asking for it. Obviously, that is something that we would take seriously and want to look at if that were indeed true, that some company wanted to provide that kind of service. But, you know, as far as internet, really the Comcast is your only option unless you get DSL from, I think, Verizon,
Well,
which really doesn't meet the standards of Comcast. Go ahead.
Well, I just think to Kathy's initial question, back when we started and I do think you were chair at the time, back when we started the contract renewal, we had set up, in discussion with the cable TV advisory chair, an email address for people to send
Yes.
complaints to. What happens to them from that point, Kathy? I don't know. But we did set up a specific cable TV, might be advisory, and that's where people, I think on our website, we directed people to send them to that, because as part of the negotiations, we were supposed to look at complaints that we've gotten in, and if there was any trends in complaints, to report that as part of our process.
Right.
So I don't know what happens to them once they email the complaints in.
okay, well, because I was looking at that draft that they had given us on the red booklet, and it said something like, if we get a complaint within 10 days, we're supposed to give it to them, and if they get a complaint within 10 days, they're supposed to share it to us. And I'm just wondering what's gonna be in the new
I
contract.
don't
and
think
if-
that had ever happened.
I
on
know,
either
I'm
account.
agreeing with you. I'm thinking some parts of this contract are perhaps not being followed. So if we're gonna give a 20-year contract, I
And-
just wanna, a 10,
10.
10-year
Longer than
contract, sorry, 10-year contract, 10 years is still long. I wanna make sure that we, first of all, have options in there in case other technology comes along that might be preferable to the people in our town, and second, that there is something that carries some teeth to it in there about complaints.
Well, I don't think that the contract says we can only use and go with Comcast. If somebody came to town and wanted to put something on the
Right,
pole
just-
that we
I
grant access
agree.
to, we
It
could
did-
say, I wanna go with ABC Company.
In the
because they have a
draft, there
hotspot.
was language that, but I also saw some language about complaints, and I guess I found out tonight, my answer to my question is, we're not forwarding the complaints to Comcast, and Comcast isn't forwarding anything to us.
Yeah, that sounds
I would
about
say
right.
that's accurate, yeah.
Okay, well, then, if that's in the contract, I either take it out if we're not gonna do this, but don't pretend like we're doing something we're not. I mean, I
that,
feel the frustration of people in this town with the Comcast and the pricing and everything. I
Oh,
totally
it's, yeah,
feel it.
it's
It's-
absurd.
And it infuriates me a little bit more just because, having worked for the electric companies, their pricing, I feel, is regulated a little more intensely than what seems to be the regulation on the monopoly that Comcast has on Groveland. And, I mean, I saw the difference in price just between Haverhill and here. So why should Haverhill pay less than a Groveland resident for
Well, there's
just
difference
basic?
in prices between Groveland residents too, it's not just.
I know,
the
it just,
town.
it's.
But I think that regulation is more at a state
I-
and the,
I'm- Again, I'm not sure, because I just know from having worked in a monopoly field in the electric utility industry that, you know, we had to show cost of service. We had to show the pricing was based on something, some sense of fairness, and this sure seems based on the fact that we don't have any other choices.
Oh, I agree.
And I guess the only thing I was just thinking about is that when it gets to the point of actually signing off on a new contract, I would like to see us look at the section, other than the section on cost that I know we've talked about a lot, could we please just take a little time on the section on complaints and just see what's supposed to be happening?
Yeah, we can
Okay.
make a note to do that whenever
Thank
that
you.
contract.
Well, that
goes.
was it. That was all. I don't
Okay.
really have a lot more to say. Thank you.
Moving on to vote to the board, we have approved the police chief surplus request of a 2007 Nissan Murano.
Sure.
Do you make a motion on that, or?
Motion to,
Yes, we do.
motion to,
Surplus,
how would I put this?
just motion to surplus the
Motion to
2017.
surplus the 2007 Nissan Murano as requested by Chief Gillen.
Second.
Motion and a second, any further discussion? All those in favor? Yes. accept the resignation of Steve Collins, highway laborer, effective June 1st, 2020.
And I'll make a motion that we accept, with regret, the resignation of Steve Collins. He'll be a loss, he's a good worker. Effective June 1st.
I second that, and echo Selectman Watson that he also wrote that he took the time to stick with us during this COVID shutdown and help us get through that, and that's deeply appreciated. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for that. Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Is there, was there a specific reason cited?
No, he actually wanted to leave to start his own venture, so his staying on actually benefited him as much because he wasn't able to start anything up for the last few months, so he wants to go and do his own thing and start his own business.
Oh, good for him.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor?
Yes.
Approve amended liquor license for Pub 97 to allow outdoor consumption. Now, Kathy, you can approve.
Make a motion to approve the amended liquor license for Pub 97 to allow outdoor consumption.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
That was the 3 criteria that we put in
Yeah,
place.
yeah. I just don't know, we put them in, they put them in before we made the
We all
process.
signed? We all signed.
Yes, and I
Good
told
thing we
him,
agreed with their process before they put it in. I mean,
well, I told them that you had to set a process and there were no guarantees, but they are watching the meeting, and I told them I would drop it off on my way home.
Fantastic. Moving on to Finance Director time.
All right, so we've already covered this.
Is this what we're signing?
Yes. So, a couple things. The Bagnell School reached out. They are planning to tentatively hold a reverse parade for the, I guess, 6th graders.
Oh, okay.
So they would have the parents standing 6 feet apart on the driveway and have the parents drive through with their kids with signs and to get their certificate. I told them I didn't think that was a problem. I don't think it violates any of the orders as long as the folks are standing 6 feet apart. But I wanted to let you know that and see if there were any objections. Oh, no, it's that one. I'm like, that doesn't look like the hard copy that I made. Sorry.
The one I just signed.
Mike took it out of his packet. Sorry. So,
It's on
so as
Have it
long as
again.
there are no objections, the Bagnell is going to be holding that. We have had the question on yard sales and how the board would like to proceed with folks requesting yard sale permits. Someone contacted the town clerk and asked about a July event. I don't know if we wait till phase 3 to see what's in there, but I told them I would bring it up to the board.
July 3rd is what they're asking for?
No, they didn't give a specific date in July.
July?
They just said it was a yard sale in July.
I would suggest we wait and see what happens in the next couple of weeks. 'Cause
Right.
I
Can we
don't know
let the
how
Board
we-
of Health know that we got this request as
Yeah.
well?
Yep.
Yeah, I
Hear
would,
what they have to say.
exactly.
Okay, so I'll just let the clerk know that right now, we're still not proceeding with yard sales, until further notice. Okay? And then on that note, I would like to share, some election information.
Do I leave the room again?
No, this is just the
Okay.
procedure for
I think
election.
I'm gonna
So,
walk out.
the town election is June 15th, next Monday, here in Town Hall. The time is 12 PM to 8 PM. Given the changes under Executive Order 591, these will be the requirements of that day. We will be issuing a formal press release likely tomorrow. I will put some of this out in a separate phone call later this week, and they will all be on our website, but just so folks are aware. Precinct number 1, voters will enter and exit through the parking lot entrance of Town Hall. Precinct 2 voters will enter and exit through the veto room entrance where the flag bunting is. Signs and staff will be available outside to direct you if you don't know your precinct. Only 3 voters per precinct will be allowed inside the voting room at one time. 2 marking their ballots and 1 checking in. 5 voters per precinct will be allowed inside the building, waiting in line to enter the voting room. In order to keep the proper ratio of numbers, voters may be asked to wait outside. Please be patient and please be prepared. All voters are requested to wear masks, which we will provide if you do not bring one. Voters refusing to wear masks will be required to wait until the voting room can be cleaned, and regular voting will resume once the room is sanitized after that voter leaves. Each voter will be provided a pen upon check-in. Once they vote, they will return it in a bin, and they will be sterilized and sanitized before they are used a second time. We will put the street listings up on our website so folks can check their street and know their precinct before they arrive. Those who are voting for Precinct 2 should park in the library parking closer to the front of the building or along the street on the way in. As a reminder, we still have the early vote by mail. Those ballots, anyone who's requested one may drop off those ballots up until 8 p.m. on Election Day. So they will check the box out front in the mail on Monday. People still can request an early voting application, however, please request them with enough time that the request comes in, a ballot must be mailed to you, and then you need to return it. So please ensure that there's enough time between when you request it and when it needs to be returned, so that you will get your ballot. Unofficial results for the election will be available at the close of the election, and then the official results will follow when they do all of the write-ins. So they are not required to do the write-in votes that evening. They will print out the ballot results, they will check their numbers and compare, and then they will release the unofficial results Monday night. So, so just folks be prepared when you come in, there may be a wait. I will say, Bill Ricka had our voting, we had our election on Saturday, and there was only a 17% turnout. So it was very low in person. I don't know how many voted by mail.
Hopefully not.
I will say, though, I did not get any information in Bill Ricka about early voting by mail, so everywhere here. So I don't know what the overall turnout was. Well, the overall turnout was 17%, but I think that's been the trend. Beth went to North Andover last week and participated in their election to see how they were doing it, and she said they had a very low overall turnout. So we urge people to vote either by mail or on Monday, but those will be the requirements to vote in person.
Once we get our 5th member of the board, what are we gonna do with seating?
So I'll just move. We'll put somebody here, and then I'll move
Over there,
someplace
okay.
else. Yep.
Anything else? We good?
Nope, that's all I have for you.
Selectmen time and reports. Ed, anything?
Just a couple of things. The new docks for the boat ramp. I thought those had been ordered.
They were ordered on March 7th, and then New Hampshire shut everything down. So I have been in contact with them. They were hopeful. I talked to them last week when we started talking about reopening. They were hopeful they would be in. We did put the old docks in. They are not in great shape. So we're just waiting. Hopefully any day now we'll get the new ones installed.
Okay, one item for unfinished. We accepted the resignation of a highway worker. When can we get that job posted?
So it's still posted from the first time around. We never took it down. I will say, I was talking to Rennie about it last week. We may put it in the newspaper to see if we get any more candidates. So we'll do that.
Well, what was the process we used for the fire chief and for Rennie? We used that same process?
No, because that's different for laborers. So for the department head level positions, we posted on MMA's website, but that's more of a professional site. Laborers don't look there. Laborers will look in like the local newspapers. So we'll put it in. I've spoken with him. He has enough money to do the package deal, if you will. So it'll go in like 7 local newspapers. It'll go on their website, and they'll put it on the Tribune's social media. So hopefully we'll get a little more interest that way.
Okay. That's it.
Bill?
Just a couple of things. Our next high school building committee meeting will be tomorrow. Currently, I'd like to say 2 things you probably never heard before in a government project. This project is actually on time and on budget, and we're proud of that. So hopefully we continue that timeline and that finance line to make sure that we stay in those borders and don't exceed anything. Rec committee, I imagine now that we've opened up the Pines, I'll be anxious to get to form another rec committee meeting so we can get that going. I'd like to thank again all the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store workers, fire department, police department, EMTs, teachers, first responders, for all they've done for us in these last 3 months. It hasn't gone unnoticed. You're important, and you've proven to be very vital people in our lives. If I left anyone out, town employees, on purpose, just sometimes there's so many people to thank you lose sight. And then one very special shout out to a lovely woman I met 30-some-odd years ago. We'll be married 31 years on Wednesday, and just a big shout out to my lovely bride. 31 years ago, I said I do. I don't think I'd change a thing. Actually, I know I wouldn't change a thing. She probably would, probably get rid of me, but that's okay. And that's it. Thank you, everybody.
Smack you for saying that.
And thank you, everybody in town, really, for everything you've done in these past 3 months to keep us at these extraordinarily low numbers as far as the COVID cases. It's because of you and all you've done and your commitment to everyone else in town and each other that this is all possible. So hopefully we all continue in that trend, we all stay safe, and we look forward to having a great future together. Thank you, appreciate
Okay.
it.
Kathy, anything?
Yes, today I had the distinct pleasure of joining some of our young adults in Groveland, some Pentucket alumni, as well as some more recent graduates, took it upon themselves to organize a very beautiful and peaceful protest on Elm Park against racism in any form, and it was well received by everybody driving by. We had a state trooper who went by twice, giving the thumbs up, and I was very impressed with these young people, with the speeches they made about acceptance and being good to each other and treating everybody with fairness. And it was just, as a teacher and as a parent, I was just very, very impressed and very proud of the young adults in our town today. And also thank you to the Groveland Police for keeping this event safe for everybody. It was really a wonderful event.
Okay, anything under old or unfinished business, Kathy?
I have no idea, but no.
No
Thank
idea,
you.
but no. Bill?
Just one thing, I don't know if we ever followed up on it. There was a correspondence made maybe a month ago, maybe less, about the Perry Park situation. Have we ever been able to properly discern what area belongs to the town and what may have been usurped by a neighbor?
No, so I looked through, I talked to some folks here without an actual surveyor. I mean, we can just ballpark based on our maps that everything is town property. Pretty much from the, just after the house, all of that area is town property.
To the corner. Really? That presents a problem, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Are there any suggestions for ratification of that?
No, but I really didn't discuss that with folks, because I think it falls under you all. It's not really a highway issue, it's not really a plan, it's really town property. I will say, even more cars are parking there now. Cars are parking along the side. I mean, I know they did today, but more regularly, there are cars parking along the side, on the grass. I don't know if the answer is put up a fence. I don't know if we post something. I really don't know. I don't know what the right answer is, whether we have police issue no parking tickets. The argument's gonna be they've parked there for however many years, so I don't know. That's something you all should discuss more in-depth on how you wanna handle that going forward.
Well, those kind of arguments are always they fall flat with me. I mean, 300 years ago and for thousands of years before that, people were allowed to own slaves, but we don't do that anymore, right? So just because we did something forever and a day doesn't make it right, doesn't make it just. So it's I don't buy that too much.
So we can certainly put it on,
Agenda item.
your next meeting will be so again, we need to meet on the 29th for a regular meeting. So I can put it on there. We can have a more in-depth discussion on how to handle it, but from everything I can tell, it's all town property, and it doesn't really fall under anyone else's jurisdiction for enforcement purposes. I mean, like I said, the police can enforce your decision, but I don't
Yeah, let's
I
put
don't know
that
what
on
type of
the
enforcement
29th
there
for
would
now.
be.
Ed, anything for old or unfinished business?
Well, I did, but Bill covered it.
Oh, okay,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that's all right.
I would've left it for you. I didn't know.
all right, we're efficient then. All right, so we have correspondence, minutes from June 1st, 2020. We have mosquito control planning and activities. and-
Comment on
Yeah.
that?
I was gonna make the same comment.
How do you know?
Mosquito
Because
control?
I know.
Maybe we could get it up on the website, how to opt out.
Oh, that's not the comment.
What's that?
It's not the comment. I just-
I filled the paperwork out in the middle of January to opt out.
Sure.
But
I actually think it might be under the Board of Health page, but I'll double check.
Okay. Did you have another comment?
No, my comment was gonna be the minutes for June 1st. The copy that are in your packet actually say June 2nd. I had a typo on them. So,
Okay.
when you read your documentation, it's the 1st is the correct date.
Got it. Letter regarding Groveland surface issue gasoline spill on May 26, 2020. What?
What does the last sentence mean?
So there was a gas spill.
Didn't hear anything about it.
Neither did I until this letter arrived. So, it obviously looks like in compliance with environmental, I don't know if it's the EP or DEP, we were required to be copied on a cleanup documentation. So I honestly don't know.
So nobody knows what this is, other than some gas spill somewhere.
Well, so 15 gallons of gasoline was accidentally released from a vehicle while refueling at 908 Salem Street.
But that
So
last,
that was the situation.
yeah,
Okay.
there was a
Maybe we
statement.
could get a little bit more detail on that from,
Yeah, if we could get a little explanation of that, I'm trying to grab it right.
it'd be nice to have a
There's
little
a-
bit more information on that. All right, can we get someone to adjourn at 7:05?
Motion to adjourn the June 8th, 2020 Board of Selectmen meeting at 7:06.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor? I'm assuming there's no discussion. Thank you.
Thank
So-
you.
My question was.